Hey, this is Todd. Seeing that it's Halloween this week, I thought I would do another retro read along. And given the theme of Halloween, I decided to pick Ravenloft. Let's take a look. I don't really know too much about the history. I know that it was written by Tracy and Laura Hickman. Tracy Hickman later to go on and do Dragonlance. This is I6 from the Old Reckoning. Let's read the back, which I'll just read off the hardcover. Under raging storm clouds, a lone start that over again. Take two. Under raging storm clouds, a lone figure stands silhouetted against the ancient walls of Castle Ravenloft. Count Strahd von Zarovich stares down a sheer cliff at the village below. A cold, bitter wind spins dead leaves about him, billowing his cape in the darkness. Lightning splits the clouds overhead, casting stark white light across him. Strahd turns to the sky, revealing the angular muscles of his face and hands. He has a look of power and of madness. His once handsome face is contorted by a tragedy darker than the night itself. Rumbling thunder pounds the castle spires. The wind's howling increases as Strahd turns his gaze back to the village. Far below, yet not beyond his keen eyesight, a party of adventurers has just entered his domain. Strahd's face forms a twisted smile as his dark plan unfolds. He knew they were coming, and he knows why they came, all according to his plan. He, the master of Ravenloft, will attend to them. Another lightning flash rips through the darkness, its thunder echoing through the castle's towers. But Strahd is gone. Only the howling of the wind, or perhaps a lone wolf, fills the midnight air. The master of Ravenloft is having guests for dinner, and you are invited. So that's a pretty cool bit of flavor for this, right? I think people look at this as the first sort of gothic inspired adventure. I don't know if there are other ones people would consider gothic, but I'm pretty sure this is the one. Obviously, Curse of Strahd is based upon this. I thought about doing that one, but this one I have, digitally and physically. I have Curse of Strahd physically, but it's not quite as easy for me to set up to do a read along that way, just because of the camera setup. It's a little bit wonky for me right now. So here's a hex map of Barovia. Let's see where the actual, and this was a separate insert physically. I might use my glasses because the writing here is a little bit small. I'm just going to read the first bit of this flavor text. Ravenloft is a classic gothic horror story. Many mysteries surround Strahd, his castle Ravenloft, and the lands of Barovia. After entering Barovia, the PCs are trapped by a deadly fog. Their adventure can run in any direction, culminating in a fantastic vampire hunt. There we go. That helps a little bit. The dark forests of Barovia are filled with wolves and other creatures, making travel there quite unsafe. In a clearing in the Svalich woods lies a gypsy camp. Only Madame Eva and her troop pass in and out of Barovia. There are rumors that Strahd gave Madame Eva a potion that neutralizes the fog, but no one has ever actually seen the potion. It is well known that Madame Eva foretells the future with surprising accuracy. Okay, so I'll stop there. But basically get this overview of, things are going up. And again, in a flavorful sort of way, right? They're kind of keeping the gothic theme of what we're going to see. So it looks like they're gonna give us some info. Looking at the table of contents, we're gonna see what Count Strahd is about, and something called the Fortunes of Ravenloft, which is reading the fortunes. If you're familiar with the fifth edition version, they have that as well. And then start the adventure, and then the different lands. But we'll go through all of that. So let's just hit it. I am the ancient. My beginnings are lost in the darkness of the past. I am not dead, nor am I alive. I am undead forever. Count Strahd von Zarovich. All right, let's see. You get a little more kind of boilerplate. Party of 6 to 8 PCs, 5th to 7th levels, right? So this is sort of a mid-tier adventure. And gives you some abbreviations. What's going on? All right. Here we go. Here's Count Strahd. The entire adventure centers around the vampire. Always keep in mind the motives of the vampire, how he moves about, and what his cunning plot is. You must play Strahd in the same way the players play their characters. Study this NPC as carefully as the players study their characters. I think this is very important, particularly when you're looking at your big bad evil guy type character. I think very often we don't play our NPCs or our monsters particularly smart. We tend to play them up as if they're just there to be served up to the party. So I like that they kind of give you this message up front of, hey, play this guy like he has a plan that he wants to do. Play him like he's your character, right? Don't play him as this chump that you're just going to serve up to your players. And I think that's important because, like I said, a lot of times we don't do it. A lot of times we don't get that kind of even that kind of guidance that we should be playing that person. And now we could say that, okay, we can relax a little bit. Now we don't feel bad if we do play him tough because we've gotten permission. The game has said, the module has said, play this guy tough. So now if we play them tough and something happens and somebody calls us out on, we can say, hey, the module said specifically, play this guy like he's in it to win it. There we go. All right, let's look at his stats there. Using one guy, so here's his unique armor class -1. That is pretty good. Movement 12 inches, 18 inches. Hit dice is 10. He's got 55 hit points. Percent in layer 90%. Treasure type F. Number of attacks 1. Damage of attacks. Damage per attack 5 to 10. 1d6 plus 4. Okay, he's got energy drain. You need to hit him with magical weapons. He's got some sort of magic resistance. He's a genius. He's chaotic evil. He's just a regular sized person. No psionic abilities. All right. Let's see. Although Strahd can be encountered in many places, he is always encountered in the place indicated by your Fortunes of Ravenloft results, which we will see shortly, unless he has been forced to his tomb. Strahd is a slightly above average vampire. He has the normal 18/76 strength. The slash was before you could only have 18 strength max as a player character. So they decided at some point, I think it was between, I guess, basic D&D and AD&D, they decided to have in this exceptional strength value, which was after the slash. So if you rolled an 18 for strength, you would roll, I guess, a D100, and that would be that exceptional value. So the highest you get was basically 18/00 or 100 strength, and so on and so forth. So 1876 is strong. You can only be hit by magical weapons and can regenerate. Is that 5 or is that 3? Gosh, my eyesight's just going here. Let's say 3. 3 hit points per round. He can assume gaseous form at will or shape change into a large bat. He can charm person at will by gazing into a character's eyes, causing the character to make a saving throw versus spells with a penalty of -2. Charm person, I said this before during my Isle of Dread read through. It's in older editions, it's pretty powerful. So that is not the watered down charm person in 5th edition where they're kind of friendly and all this. Like, charm person is serious. Strahd is also a 10th level magic user. He learned his magic from studies during his life and from subsequent studies over the centuries. His available spells are, okay, I'm not going to read through, but what are the highlights? Protection from good, sleep. Probably not going to be much use against the party because sleep has a cap on the kind of HD you can affect. So it's really great for low level monsters, not so much when you get higher, but maybe if they have hirelings, one of the things, sleep can be good to kind of just take care of all those and put them out, conk them out. Invisibility, locate objects. Locate object is a good one. Right? Again, if you're playing this guy while the party's doing stuff, right? Locate object is a good way for Strahd to maybe home in on them if he knows they have something or some other thing that you decide he wants to do for his plot. Locate object is a good spell just to set up him figuring things out. Mirror image, good defensive spell, ESP. Fireball, why not? Gust of wind, suggestion. Polymorph other, that's a good one. Polymorph self, also good. 5th level, animate dead. Distance distortion. I'm not sure what distance distortion is, other if it's not exactly what it sounds like. But it's 5th level, so it's probably pretty good. Animate dead obviously is going to be good. Strahd has a variety of spies and servants. They report to him 4 times each day at dawn, noon, dusk, and midnight. There is a 60% chance that Strahd knows the PC's location at these times. If Strahd knows their location, he attacks the PCs wherever they are within 2 hours. Strahd chooses the time and method of his attacks carefully. Okay, so he's going to get some reports different times of the day, so it'd be good to keep that in mind. If we're looking at things we want to set up as a GM, if we're going to run this, we want to have those time slots marked somehow. Dawn, noon, dusk, and midnight, because that's when Strahd's going to get his reports. And that's we're going to roll some dice to see if those spies are anything. Because remember, they haven't said here which spies are. So basically, they're taking the idea of Strahd spies and they are creating a system without saying, here are the individuals who are spies, or without having to make a whole bunch of checks to see, oh, is this a spy? And does he notice them? And whatever, we're saying that he has enough spies, he has enough going on that basically 60% chance that one of those spies is going to have seen the party and know their current whereabouts, which means that Strahd is going to then gun for them within 2 hours. That 2 hours window, meaning maybe he's figuring out what his plan of attack is going to be. Maybe he's getting there, he's prepping, whatever he's doing. So 2 hours. So we want to keep track of those particular times. We're going to roll some dice. You could roll them in advance if you wanted to. Roll them out because it's not dependent on player skill. It's flat. Essentially, what they're taking and saying, you know what, we're going to just take all those variables out and say this, that, and the other. Let's just call it 60%, which for this is kind of nice, right? You could sit there and try to make it more detailed and give it a lot more depth and everything. But what are you really gaining through all those systems if you had them? Whereas you could just say, you know what, if we boil everything down, if I take Strahd's skills, I take all the spies he has and all this stuff, and I put that on one side, and I put whatever skills the party might have on the other side, I'm just going to put them against each other, and I'm going to wash it out and say 60% chance, which in the grand scheme of things is not that onerous. It's 10% more than half, right? So it's a little bit more, a little better than half chance they're going to get seen, and therefore Strahd's going to target them, but it's not like it's 90%. So I think that's a pretty fair number. And you, of course, as the GM, you could play with that if you want to give it a different feel. You could drop it down. Maybe you don't want Strahd to attack potentially multiple times in a day with a high frequency. So maybe you lower that. Maybe you want more of that. So you do that, So there that is. Okay, Strahd can attack in each of the following ways once. Attacks a single PC for 5 melee rounds, then he leaves. Calls in 10 to 15 Strahd zombies to attack the party. All the zombies must attack at the same time in the same place. Calls 3 to 12 warg wolves to attack the party. All the wolves must attack at the same time in the same place. I wonder if that's once in a day or just once, period. Because if you're in here multiple days, you're going to get a lot. You're probably going to run through all those 3. You can figure that out. But at least maybe run through those once each before you go back to another one. So now we have some more info as to what Strahd's going to do. He's going to use one of those methods to attack. And potentially there are 4 different calls of the day. If it's extremely unlucky, he might have to do all of those and then one other one, I guess. Or maybe you say if he attacks more than 3 times in a day, or maybe he can only attack, right? I guess you can see that a couple of ways. If he's only going to use one of these ways once, one is him, one is zombies, one is wargs, then maybe you say if you are incredibly lucky and you roll it within 60% 4 times, but you've already used up all 3, the 4th one, they get a pass. When playing Strahd, above all, keep these 3 things in mind. Strahd chooses when he attacks. Strahd is supposed to be a genius. Play him as one. Again, going back to that, he's a smart guy. Don't play him as a dummy. Whenever he is aware of the PC's positions, he is allowed to make an attack how and where he wants. His attacks must be timed to be most advantageous to him. To do that, Strahd must move around during the adventure. However, he can always be found in the place determined in Fortunes of Ravenloft. It is your responsibility to see that the vampire uses his ability to his greatest advantage. So they're just reinforcing this idea. Play him smart. Play him, they're really saying here it's not even an option. You must play his powers to be most advantageous. If you see a spot, that within this time frame of, okay, Strahd has spotted them at noon, within 2 hours he's going to attack, the party's going to be in a spot that's going to put them at a disadvantage to the zombies and they haven't been used yet. That's exactly where the zombies should come in, right there. Don't play it when it's easiest for the party, or don't think, oh, well, they haven't taken that short rest yet and they're still, so no, like Strahd should hit them, see that they're weakened. That should be part of his report, and then hit them then, right? You should be doing everything with the most impact. You should be playing them tough. All right, let's go on to number 2. Things to keep in mind. Strahd knows when to withdraw. He knows when he is over his head. If he is losing a battle, he becomes gaseous, polymorphs into a wolf or bat, and or summons other creatures to guard his retreat. More great advice. I feel like this should be written for every bad guy. Oftentimes, DMs just run these encounters to death. And here he's telling you, do not. He's going to know. He starts getting hit. He starts taking damage. He starts seeing that, hey, the party right now has enough resources to seriously do him. One, You don't wait until you've got one hit point left and then you decide to try to panic and gaseous form. You're going to prep that up, and you can know that after a couple of rounds if you're getting consistently hit and maybe you're not taking out party members fast enough. You start to know that this tide is not going your way. Get out. Use his abilities. Use these powers he has. Get out. Fight another day. And then another great idea, not only to retreat, but bring in enemies, do other things to cover your retreat. Strahd's attacks depend upon his goals. There is a reason why Strahd lured the PCs into his little kingdom. This reason is determined in Fortunes of Ravenloft. Strahd's plans for achieving his goal are listed with his goals. Okay, so we're going to see that, I'm assuming, right next. What is nice about this is it provides some dynamism to the module. You could have played this and had Strahd goal number 1. Now you're going to get Strahd goal number 3. And so it is a little bit different. So that's nice. It makes it feel like keeps it a little bit fresh. You could renew it if, Barovia, if this ends up being something that maybe the party's able to use, like a wish or something to get out and they didn't deal with Strahd, then maybe Strahd's goals change and they can run into it again and it can have a little bit of a different feel. So I like that. All right, here we go. Whoa, gray on slightly less gray. Okay, Fortunes of Ravenloft. Fortunes of Ravenloft is an imitation ancient gypsy card reading. Let me see if the physical version gives a little bit better just for my eyes. It's probably that same. Strahd. All right, yep, it is a little better. So I'm going to read from that, my physical one, but obviously you have that one up there to follow along. Fortunes of Ravenloft is an imitation ancient gypsy card reading. It does not resemble any real or mystical fortune-telling process. Fortunes of Ravenloft determines Strahd's goals and the placement of important treasures. This card reading can add a great deal of flavor to your game and makes Ravenloft different when you play it again, which is what I just said. You must run this card reading before playing this module. If during the course of the adventure the PCs have their fortunes read at the gypsy camp, run this card reading again out loud. Substitute the new results for the old ones. Be sure to write down the results of your card reading so you have them when you need them. Find a regular 52-card deck of playing cards. Remove all 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, and Joker cards from the deck. Now you have a set of 4 suits with 8 cards in each suit. Shuffle the deck. If you don't have a regular deck of cards, you can get the same results by rolling 1d8 to determine the type of card and 1d4 to determine its suit. Roll again if you get the same card in any suit twice. All right. So they're going to have, let's see. So these are all, we've got places. So if you get a 3, you get the study. It is a place of great tranquility, a harbor for the mighty and powerful. It is in the place of wisdom, warmth, and despair. Great secrets are there. The object is on the mantelpiece just under the portrait of the woman. If Strahd is there, he is sitting back in the overstuffed chair, staring into the blazing fire. You get a 5, you get treasure room. You should seek for a carefully hidden place of great worldly wealth. I see a blazing fire protecting the place. The object is set prominently atop the other treasures in the room. If Strahd is there, he is counting his ill-gotten gains. Doing a little Scrooge McDuck, I guess. 7 is Chapel of Ravenloft. You may find this amid the ruins of a place of supplication. The object is on the altar, brightly illuminated by a shaft of light from the ceiling. If Strahd is there, he is standing in the center of the room, a dark shape in the vast hall. That's a cool image. 10 is High Tower Room. This is in a place of dizzying heights that all loathe to travel. The road winds ever upward, and the rocks themselves live here. The object is in a locked iron chest. Strahd is there. He is at the window, looking over his lands. Jack is the crypt of Sergei von Zarovich. This lies with a fallen prince of old. The brother of dark is light, and he rests in this place. The object is lying across Sergei's chest. If Strahd is there, he is lying across the marble slab, weeping. Another interesting kind of Gothic image. Crypt of Ravenovia. This is in the mother's place. The object is lying on top of Ravenovia's coffin. If Strahd is there, he is in a frenzy of rage and despair. Okay, so that's all for that. And then we got a few more over here. You get a king. It's King's Audience Hall. A king's throne is the place to find this. The object is lying across the dais behind the throne, or dais. Never remember how that's pronounced. If Strahd is there, he is sitting on the throne. Ace is the crypt of Strahd. This is a very bad sign. This is in the very heart of the darkness. His home, his source. It is his center and his life. It is the one place to which he must return. The object is in a corner of the room. If Strahd is here, he is within his coffin, ready to attack at the first sign of someone opening the lid. Now the second table. So we've got, first we had which card you draw as far as the face, and now we're going to look at the suits. And you get some hit and armor class modifiers. So not only is it giving you the place and kind of at least one sort of set encounter spot, you get some bonuses and looks like penalties as well. If you get hearts, +1 to hit, -1 bonus to AC. Diamonds, +1 bonus to hit, but suffer a +1 penalty to their AC. Because remember, we're doing descending armor class. So the first one was all positive because having a -1 to your armor class is a good thing. But on this one, you get the +1 to hit, but now you're easier to hit. Clubs, -1 to hit, but they do get that -1 bonus to armor class. And then spades, -1 penalty and a +1 penalty. So that spades is the bad one. Oh, and here's the little flavor text. Hearts, there's a very good influence here. There. If you are there, the power of good will aid you. The diamond blesses your skills there, but bodes poorly for your protection. The club sustains your strength here, but holds you from your victory, taking more time than it otherwise would. The spade is a dark shadow of evil cast over that place. You fight under its influence here. Okay, so I guess these must just be for in those spots. So if you have a 7 of hearts when you're in the Chapel of Ravenloft, you get those bonuses. If you had the ace of spades, you have to go to the crypt, and in that crypt, you're going to suffer penalties. Table 3, Fortunes of Ravenloft, Strahd's goals. So you get 3 or 5. This one says Strahd seeks a new identity. I'm not going to read through all the text of what he's doing, but I think you can get the idea. Strahd will try to be alone with a charmed PC. When he's alone with them, he's going to cast Polymorph Other, turning the PC into a vampire. So have fun with that. And then he's going to try to turn into the likeness of your PC. So here they give you the detail, but it's clear he's going to take a new identity. He's going to try to get somebody alone and swap places with them. 7 or 10, Strahd wants to make a magical sphere of darkness. He's trying to make a magic item. Strahd wants, Jack or Queen. Strahd wants to win the love of Irina Kolyana. And let's see. He's going to use the PCs to do this by charming them to attack her, and then he can rescue her. So it's that old let me set up a situation where I can rescue the damsel in distress and she'll fall in love. King or ace, Strahd wants the Sun Sword. He wants to destroy it. Let's see. He believes correctly that one of the PCs, a random fighter, has been unknowingly carrying the Sun Sword for some time. If the Sun Sword hilt is found and reunited with the blade, Strahd could be in real trouble. So someone's going to have the Sun Sword, and Strahd's going to want it so that he can destroy it. And I guess some PC is going to have it. Okay. A perpetual rolling blackness. Oh, so sorry. This is Lands of Barovia. Perpetual rolling blackness of thunderclouds casts a gray pall over the land. The darker silhouettes of Castle Ravenloft looks over the valley from its 1,000-foot pillar of rock. Just some nice flavor. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It looks like we've got. So there's some background. I guess we can delve a little bit. Let's see. The road to the village, or Castle Ravenloft, dominates the small village of Barovia. No one has left Barovia for centuries. It's because of the fog. Yep, the gypsies were given the potion by Strahd that cancels the effects of the fog, so that is correct. If we didn't already guess, that's what it is. It's jealously guarded by Madame Eva, who buried it in a secret place. It is impossible for the PCs to discover the potion. The fog is magically produced by Strahd and disappears entirely upon his destruction. So I guess they're giving this reason why the gypsies are able to go back and forth, but they are saying this is one of the things that I don't really love. I guess I'll just say that for these things that you've set in mind. There's this potion, and it could have been another reason. Maybe Strahd gave them a special, put a spell on them that allows them to go through. But by making it a potion, you set up that there's this thing that you could possibly get, and I don't know how the PCs would discover this potion, but it's there. And now you said they've buried it somewhere, but then you say it's impossible to get to. So if the PCs were to put all this together, I don't know how they would. Rumors, innuendo, whatever. Okay, they're gypsies. The gypsies get through. How do they do it? I've heard there's a potion. potion's buried somewhere. And now you're saying that's impossible. So there's nothing they could do to Madame Ava. There's nothing they could spells they could cast to try to find this potion. It seems a little bit like, why are you putting this carrot in front of them they can never get? I would rather that it was just left a mystery why the gypsies were able to get through, some kind of magical effect, at least then that there isn't something that the party could potentially chase. So I don't know. I'm not sure why they did it that way, but that's what they did. And they don't tell you what the place is. So even if you want it, I suppose obviously we're the GMs, we can put it wherever we want to. And obviously at the same time, the idea of this adventure is that you're in Barovia to deal with Strahd. So we don't want the PCs just willy-nilly coming and going. That kind of defeats the purpose of it. But still, it's kind of a little weird thing there. The poor villagers of Barovia have been terrorized for centuries by the devil Strahd. Only the town priest and the few survivors of the second ruling house of Barovia have the will to offer more than just personal resistance to Strahd. Yeah, that helps a little bit, and actually doesn't. No villager has left Barovia for centuries. Those who tried never returned, dying from the vile, snapping teeth of the Barovian wolves and the choking, deadly fog. Vile, snapping teeth. It's a vivid image. Is that 5 or 3? Every 3 turns, check for random encounter. When the PCs are not in Castle Ravenloft, during the daytime, use table 4. During nighttime, use table 5. Okay, so every three turns, assuming they mean exploration turns. So we're talking every 30 minutes. So twice in an hour, we're going to check for random encounters. That's a pretty high rate, higher than normal for wilderness travel. I usually do once or twice a day, once for daytime, once for nighttime. So once every, 12 hours or, you know, um, 12 turns, I guess, would be kind of how I usually run it. So we're going to be hitting some encounters. You're going to be getting nailed fairly often. Well, let's see how many of these encounters are actually combat, because some of them could just be running into villagers or whatnot, which would take the sting away. Each night, the PCs stay anywhere other than in the castle. Strahd attacks with wolves and bats. His attacks are intended more to frighten the PCs than to damage them, so we got to keep that in mind. Strahd just toys with them. After 5 melee rounds, Strahd and his creatures withdraw. 5 melee rounds is actually quite a bit, but they're again reinforcing he's not fighting to the death here. He's trying to fight them. He's trying to intimidate him. He's trying to wear them down, and it's going to happen potentially fairly often. Each night they're not in the castle, this is going to happen. If the PCs are indoors, every turn Strahd attacks, wolves try to break through a window or door. On a roll of 1 or 2 on a d6 means that a wolf breaks through. Once a wolf gets in, the remainder of the wolves and bats come in. The wolves and Strahd never attack Irina. After 5 rounds, all of them flee into the night, leaving only Strahd's hollow laughter in the distance. So it even has a little bit of flavor there, which is cool. And it gives you just a simple, a lot of times I like the old school. This has a simple mechanic, right? Roll a d6, you get a 1 or 2, this happens. So you get this nice feeling if they're in an inn or a house or wherever they are, and if they're indoors, that here come these wolves and stuff. They're all banging to get in. And it's kind of a fun moment for the characters. Got some tension. They're being attacked on multiple sides, but of course, you get to have fun with the wolves trying to knock the door down, or the bats trying to fly in through a window or down through a chimney or something. And then you can sort of have fun with that, roll some dice and see if they get in or if they're able to hold off and what happens then. But 5 rounds in this case, 5 rounds might not be that long, because if they're unlucky, they're going to be stuck outside. Unlucky for Strahd, I mean. So if it takes them a couple rounds to get in, then maybe it's only a couple rounds that the party has to deal with them before they flee. Let's see, we're going to see numbers here. 4d4 wargs, 10d10 bats. So it could be a lot of bats. And the bats will get in the way of spell casting. Characters must make dexterity checks to cast spells with material components. Right, so here's the basically the mechanical the mechanical version of that scene in the movies where where the bats are just flying around people's heads and people are going, oh gosh, and you can't concentrate on doing anything. They've got that same thing kind of nailed down here. So that's cool. I like it. Strahd may knock at the door, but he cannot enter the building until someone invites him in. Right, classic vampire stuff. Strahd tries to charm characters into inviting him in. So, okay, another great thing. So you can have this encounter with the wolves and the bats. Maybe the wolves and the bats spend a round or 2 trying to bang down doors and things. They can't. Then all of a sudden everything goes still, and there's a knock at the door. And then Strahd asks to be invited in, or tries to maybe trick somebody, or tries to get that charm person going, looking in his eyes. So again, it's very flavorful. It's very cool. All right, Strahd's doing, vampire stuff. I like it. And here, okay, so here's table 4. Barovia daytime random encounters. All right, we're gonna roll 1d6. So we're rolling twice an hour. So that's a lot. But it's only 1 in a 1d6 chance. So it's a whatever, 16 and a half, 16.666, whatever it is, chance of an encounter on any given one of those. But we are rolling fairly often. And let's see, on the roll 1, pieces encounter something, roll 1d8, and use the encounter below with the resulting number. So let's see, could be some wolves, could be gypsies, could be villagers, could be less wolves, could be, okay, so it's either wolves, gypsies, or villagers. It's really the amounts. So the first one, you roll 1, you're getting a bunch of wolves. 2, a wide spread of gypsies, or a handful of villagers. And then it's a handful of wolves, a handful of gypsies, and the same basic handful of villagers. Now remember, particularly with the villagers and the gypsies, they don't have to be, I'm assuming the wolves, normally I would say, hey, this is where you roll for reaction, see if the wolves are hungry, if they're hostile, if they're neutral, if they're even friendly in an animal sense. But I'm pretty sure here that these are just going to flat out, since they're directly for Strahd, we know Strahd is just hostile. I'm assuming that those wolves are just hostile. So out of the D6, you've got 2 of those are just flat out hostile. The villagers and the gypsies are going to be depending, I would definitely, unless it says otherwise here, I would definitely be rolling reactions. Morale, depending on what's happening, what the players have done, will determine kind of what the gypsies and the villagers are going on about. And then we have nighttime random encounters. So you're rolling 1d6. Oh, okay. So you get a higher chance of getting stuff at night. So now we're rolling on a 1 or 2. So instead of it being basically a 16.66% chance, now it's a 33.33333% chance. Roll 1d12 and use the encounter below with the resulting number. Okay, 1 to 2, it's more wolves. 3, it's many more wolves. 4, we'll get some zombies thrown in there. 6, a whole bunch of bats. Or 6 and 7, 8 is a ghost. Get some ghouls. 9 is ghouls. 10 is whites. 11 is wraiths. 12 is a maiden vampire. So, they use the D12. They could have done this with 2d6 and kind of weighed out the results that way. But it's interesting they did 1d12. So for most of these, the percentage chance is exactly the same, because you have as much chance of rolling the 3 and getting 2 to 20 wolves as you do the 12 and getting the 1 maiden vampire, because it's a D12. But then they do, they do give a little bit of extra weight to it being bats and wolves. So, but it's pretty interesting. So obviously, night is going to be more dangerous. A lot, you got whites and wraiths can hit you with energy drain, which could be really nasty. So yeah, you gotta watch out for that. And then the maiden vampire drains 2 energy levels. She can also charm, and she can get gaseous like Strahd. So she's kind of a mini Strahd. That could be really nasty. So you really want to be careful if you're out at night. Stay indoors, kids. Lands of Barovia planned encounters. Okay. So they're going to start the adventure in an old inn a few hours march east of the gates of Barovia. Here we have some flavor text. Looks like they're going to get a letter. So they're outside Barovia. They're in an inn. They're going to get a letter. And I will read the letter. Hail to thee of might and valor. I, a lowly servant of the township of Barovia, send honor to thee. We plead for thy so desperately needed assistance within our community. The love of my life, Irina Kolyana, has been afflicted by an evil so deadly that even the good people of our town cannot protect her. She languishes from her wound, and I would have her saved from this menace. There is much wealth in this community. I offer all that might be had to thee and thy fellows if thou shalt but answer my desperate plea. Come quickly, for her time is at hand. All that I have shall be thine. Kolyan Indrirovich, Burgomaster. So that's the hook. The party is near to Barovia, and they get a letter from a desperate person of authority saying their daughter has some kind of wound or affliction. It's evil. They can help her. And hey, by the way, there's a lot of loot around here, and I will give it all to you. And the assumption is that they will take up that letter. And I think most, particularly back in the day, I don't remember people really doing too much of the hemming and hawing over if my character should do this or does it fit what my motivations are. It's pretty much you get that kind of letter and you would go. If you were doing this if you were, instead of doing a Curse of Strahd, you wanted to go straight from this book, you might need to play with that a bit. And plus, if you're playing a modern, you're playing OSR, but you're playing in a modern way with players who maybe think more current fashion, then you might need to build more into if you're playing with alignment, but their alignments maybe don't match up with what might, with they're not being good or they're neutral or they're evil. Is that letter enough by itself? Obviously, it does speak of loot, so there's always that, but maybe you need to do a bit more. So you would need to know your table, know your party a bit to determine if you need to amp that up a little bit or what else you need to do to get them on the road. But adventure just basically assumes that they're going to get this letter and they're going to take off. So they're not giving a whole lot of other options. So we just got to keep that in mind. And we can hit the old Svalich Road, and then they're going to hit the gates of Barovia. I'm not going to read the flavor test, but basically, when they get within 50 feet, the gates are going to open with this big, nice screeching sound, and they're going to close behind the PCs after they pass through, and they won't open again from the other side. Anyone attempting to cross back over the border is choked by the fog. Once the PCs enter, they must destroy the vampire or be trapped in Barovia. So, cue Admiral Akbar at the twap. So, the Roach Motel concept. They get in, but they can't get out unless they destroy Strahd. Svalich Woods, towering trees. Let's see. Okay, the 3 turns after all the PCs enter the woods, they find a dead villager in the underbrush. He holds an envelope crumpled in his hand. The remains of his clothes are torn and raked with claw marks. Paw prints of many large wolves are pressed into the clay around the body. The man has obviously been dead for several days. The letter is dated 1 week ago. It is sealed with a large B. The parchment is worn and flimsy. It reads as follows. So here we go. It's another letter, but this has got a different message. Hail thee of might and valor. I, the burgomaster of Barovia, send you honor with despair. My adopted daughter, the fair Irina, has been these past nights bitten by a creature calling its race vampire. For over 400 years, he has drained this land of the lifeblood of its people. Now, my dear Irina languishes and dies from an unholy wound caused by this vile beast. Yet I fear, too, that the creature has some more cunning plan in mind. He has become too powerful to be fought any longer. So I say to you, give us up for dead and encircle this land with the symbols of good. Let holy men call upon their power, that the evil one may be contained within the walls of weeping Barovia. Leave our sorrows to our graves and save the world from this evil fate of ours. There is much wealth entrapped in this community. Return for your reward after we are all departed for a better life. Kolyan Indarirovich, Burgomaster. So this is the original letter. I'm not even sure what the text is going to say underneath here, but it's pretty clear that this was the original letter that was sent out. Strahd intercepted it, put his own letter out there, and sent that forward. And then basically every turn, so every 10 minutes are in the woods, roll a d6. If you get 4 or more, so basically half the time, you're going to hear a lone wolf howling, crying in the distance. And then one more wolf will join it, crying each round. If they're still in the woods after 5 rounds of this, the wolves attack. If the PCs are entering Barovia, only 5 wolves attack. If the PCs are attempting to leave Barovia, 25 wolves attack. Wow. The wolves stop their attack if the PCs leave the woods by entering the village. So there's a time limit, right? So this little bit is just basically saying, hey, don't let the party sit there and fiddle faddle around in that fog, in the woods rather. If it looks like they're getting, this is kind of a version of the orcs attack or something else, right? There you could easily get caught up in the woods. Maybe they're looking at the body. They're trying to determine all the stuff. They're getting really into it. This is a way of, hey, get them going. If they're in there every 10 minutes, So it gives them a chance to do something, but then you're going to hear that wolf howling. Then you have another 10 minutes wolf howling. And as these more wolves keep joining this howling song, that should get the idea into the party's heads that something's afoot, right? It's not safe here, or we need to do something. And then if they haven't figured out they need to get out, then they're going to attack. And it's easier for them. It's almost in the sense of saying, look, you just got here, so I'm going to go easy mode on you. Only 5 wolves are going to attack you. But if it's later on and you're trying to escape, or you've been through this before and now you're testing it again, then now it's on. It's serious. So you got that. The river that runs through is the River Ivlis, clear as a blue winter sky. And then we have the village of Barovia. I'll read the flavor text here. Tall shapes loom out of the dense fog that surrounds everything. The muddy ground underfoot gives way to slick, wet cobblestones. The tall shapes become recognizable as the dwellings of the village of Barovia. The windows of each house stare out from pools of black nothingness. No sound cuts the silence except for a single mournful sobbing that echoes through the streets from a distance. Nice imagery. The box text or what you would read to the party. Of course, you could take them and come up with your own version to read out. They're kind of fun. There's always, I like when you get this nice imagery, pools of black nothingness, right? Mournful sobbing that echoes through the streets. So telling you that sobbing comes from E3, which is Mad Mary's townhouse, which we'll see soon enough. So we have, let's get the general info. There's a 60% chance that there's someone at home in each house. The characters listening at doors hear low, muffled whispers. Good kind of flavor. Each occupied house has one man in it. There's a 30% chance that his wife is with him. There's a 10% chance that 1d8 children are also in the house. The Barovians never attack first and always flee if possible. At night, they tend to cower and hold lawful, good, holy symbols before them. So, right? So, more just guidance. You can roll to see who's in the houses. They're not going to attack first, which I guess leads back. I wonder about the random, if you meet the villagers in the random encounters, they probably aren't going to attack first either. Though maybe that might change depending on what the party decides to do. And at night, they got their holy symbols out and they're probably at home, cowering. Okay, so we have Bildrath's Mercantile. We have a merchant in there. Let's see. Bildrath trades with the gypsies when they pass through. He is not above making a profit from anyone else who is unlucky enough to find themselves here. He serves himself. He certainly promises no sanctuary. He never bargains a price as he believes. If you want it badly enough, you'll pay for it because you certainly won't be taking your business elsewhere. That's very true. What alignment do they give him out of curiosity? Lawful neutral, which also makes total sense. He's playing by the rules. He's not trying to scam anybody, but he's not exactly giving you a deal, even if you're here to try to save him, right? He's gonna get his money. Harry Wimple is the stock boy. All right. Harry Wimple's muscles rippling beneath his leather tunic. All right, so he's a strong boy. He's simple-minded. Unlike, okay, so Bildrath is clever. He's simple. All right, but he's going to be, he's going to follow his uncle's word. He's not going to follow the PCs. He knows not to cross the master of the castle. Yeah, it makes sense. Blood of the Vine Tavern. Great name. All right, so we've got the Barkeep Eric. 3 gypsies are there. Ismark is in the shadows. There's always somebody in the shadows of a tavern. You notice that? I guess that's kind of the Aragorn Strider effect. You always got to have one character in the shadows. Let's see. Okay, so Eric is the bartender. He just cleans the glasses over and over again. He seems like he's kind of lost his spirit. He ignores all questions. So you can order drinks from him, but he's not the bartender that's going to give you anything else. He's just going to give you a drink and then go back to his repetitive glass cleaning. The gypsies lurk in the door. They own the tavern and see to it all customers pay their bills. These gypsies are otherwise disinterested in the PCs. They're just there to make sure you pay. Pay your tab. Pay your tab, tip your bartender. Ismark. He is the son of the burgomaster, the guy who wrote those letters to aid his adopted sister, Irina. He greets the PCs and takes them to the burgomaster's home. So here we can get to the burgomaster. This is the guy who's going to move the plot forward, and of course, he's the one in the shadows. But it makes clear that he's going to see the PCs enter. The PCs, we know Barovia is his closed system, so they're going to know right off that these PCs are from the outside because they're not going to have seen them before. So Ismark isn't going to mess around. I'm sure they're going to come in, take a peek around. Maybe they're going to deal with the bartender for a second, and then Ismark, and then again, it's that way of pushing the story forward. The PCs could spend a lot of time fiddle-faddling around this tavern, trying to ask the bartender all kinds of questions that the module makes clear he's not going to talk about. The gypsies are there just to enforce the fact that the PCs are going to pay for anything that they buy. So you have these sort of dead ends, but here's Ismark who's going to approach the PCs and assuming they have these letters on them or talk about them, even if they don't, he's going to, he can take them to the burgomaster and then push things forward. If Ismark has shown the letter the PCs received at the start of the adventure, he confirms that the burgomaster did attempt to send a letter of warning. The PC's letter, however, was certainly not written by the burgomaster. Ismark recognizes that the handwriting is not the burgomaster's, which is obvious to us. The PCs would hopefully have put that together already, but if they didn't, it's being spelled out for you that, hey, this is Strahd's forgery. The letter on the dead villager was the burgomaster's original warning. Mad Mary's townhouse. This is where the sobbing is from. Oh, it's a little sad story. She had a daughter, Gertruda, who she hid in the house for the girl's entire life, but Gertruda left and has not been seen since. Her mother fears the worst. Now we have the burgomaster's home. It's a little mansion, 120 foot long, east to west, 50 feet wide, north to south. Irina is here. She will not open the door to anyone unless absolutely convinced that they're not with the count. So either the PCs can convince them, or more likely, if Ismark is with them, she'll let them in. Get a little bit of box text about the house. Irina will accompany the PCs. She's been bitten twice by the vampire and can no longer be protected here. The townspeople are afraid of her and avoid her. The PCs are her only hope for protection. So we had all these other villagers talked about up until now are not ones that are going to come with the PCs. They're here. They're either out for profit or doing their own thing, or they're just scared or they're depressed. Irina, she's going to come with you. Irina is a sweet but troubled woman. Although she may at first appear mild, she has a strong will and a good arm. By no means a hapless victim. She will aid the party as best she can in saving herself. So that's good. So she's not just a helpless person, right? Where she's saying, hey, she's going to use whatever she does have to try to help herself. She's not just a baggage. Irina does not remember her early past. She does not know how she came to Barovia, nor where she came from. Irina will inform the party that each night wolves and other terrible creatures attack the house. So again, the PCs have gotten here and they're learning the rules, and this is one of the rules. And Irina's going to let them in on it that, hey, he's going to attack the house every night, or pretty much wherever she is, wherever they are. So now you have a reason as a GM to give them that skinny. Expect the nights to be tough. Expect to be disturbed. See, the burgomaster's heart could not stand the constant assault, and he died a natural death. Strangely, since his death, the wolves have not attacked the house. The burgomaster has been dead for nearly 10 days, but no one from the town has been brave enough to help Ismark take him out for burial. As the burgomaster has been dead for nearly a week, the letter presented to the party in the tavern is certainly forged, right? So more reinforcement. If these other bits of logic didn't get through their heads that letter that they got is faked, then this should be the last nail. And probably some combination of Irina or Ismark could even say something like, oh, hey, he couldn't have written that letter because he's been dead for 10 days. And here we have some stats for Irina. She's Barovian. I think fighter 4. She's got AC 10, but I suppose if someone's got spare equipment, maybe she could get that. Only got 6 hit points. Or no, maybe just female F4. I sometimes forget what the shorthand stats mean. I think that's fighter 4. What's Ismark? Fighter 2, AC 7. One number of attacks, 1 to 4. She's lawful good. All right. It might just be for saves, fighter 4. and saves and for her hit for her attack. So she saves and attacks as a 4th level fighter, I think, which puts her a little bit less than the party. But since she's going to be coming with you, it kind of makes sense because we look back at Ismark, he's only a fighter 2, but he's probably not going to be coming with anybody. Irina's going to be with you. So if you're going by um, the level range that they gave you, right? If the lowest level you're going to tackle this is 5th level, well, here's this person who's going to be coming with you who's essentially a level lower than you, but she has, no hit points. So she's not exactly going to be taking the front lines. But as far as if she has to hit something, she's got a decent has to hit something, and save against effects because the other things are all set. And she doesn't have any hit points. She doesn't do hardly any damage. So she's charismatic, 18 charisma. She's charming. We have a guest house. We've got the church. In the church is a priest, Donovich, Barovian priest. Yeah, 2nd level cleric. Priest has been praying and chanting throughout the night. His voice is hoarse and weak. His spells are protection from evil, sanctuary, detect evil, remove fear. He spent this night, as every night, warding off evil from his church. The priest knows the following: only nightly prayers have kept the church a place of cleanly sacredness in Barovia. There's a book in the library of Ravenloft that might be able to help destroy the devil Strahd. It is well known from ancient times that Strahd kept meticulous notes on all that he did or said. Perhaps some weakness of his may be found here, found there. That's probably the object that was talked about in the fortunes. Irina Kolyana was not the natural daughter of Kolyan Indirovich. Although Irina never knew, old Kolyan found her one day at the edge of Svalich Woods near the Pillar Stone of Ravenloft. She was but a girl then and seemed to have no memory of her past. Old Kolyan adopted her as her daughter, as though she were one of his own, and loved her dearly. Okay. So you got a couple of facts here. There's a book. He's got to be up all night doing all these prayers to keep the church sacred, which probably means, again, he's a cleric, but he's not leaving either because he's going to stay there to keep the church safe. There's a cemetery. During the daytime, it's a quiet and peaceful place. Every night at midnight, a ghostly procession takes place. 100 spirits rise from the graveyard and march up the road to Castle Ravenloft. They have no interest in the living and cannot be hit, damaged, or turned. I keep getting to E7 Cemetery. Okay, they will not communicate with the PCs at the castle. The spirits march straight to the chapel, up to the high tower stair, to the top of the tower. There they throw themselves down the shaft towards the crypts, where they disappear. These are the spirits of the previous adventurers who died trying to destroy Strahd. Every night they attempt to complete their quest, and each night they fail. Really, it's just flavor, right? The party is not meant to interact with them. They're probably not going to be able to follow them up on this whole journey, but you can have it as something that recurs. First time they see it, they're in the graveyard. Maybe depending on when they're in these different areas, they might see the procession going. When they're in Strahd's castle, if they're there at a certain time, they might also see the procession going. So it's kind of neat. But it's clear that they're not supposed to be fighting these guys. They're not supposed to be doing anything. They have no interaction. They're not going to try to do anything. Of course, they give you stats anyway. They're all zeroed out. AC 0, hit dice 0, attack 0, damage 0. Just spirits. But it's a nice flavor, and it's something, again, that you can, if you remember, it's something that can recur and you can kind of build up to. Maybe you can even, the procession can change depending on how the party's doing, right? Because you would imagine maybe the spirits would be excited that someone's finally finishing the quest or close. Not necessarily to the point of them giving advice, but just using the demeanor of the spirits as a way to give the party some idea of how they're progressing. We have a road junction. Let's see. The road splits into Forbidding Svalich Woods. North Fork leads to Area G. The South Fork goes to Area I. Zur, I'm sure how to pronounce it. Tser, Zur. It's like Czar, Zur, Pool Encampment. 10 gypsies. PCs approach the camp. They are asked to join in the singing around the campfire. Whether they join the singing or not, one of the gypsies tells them it was fated that you would visit this humble camp. Madame Eva foretold your coming. She awaits you. This is where you can get your fortunes read. The gypsies attack only if some act of hostility or insult is displayed within the camp, right? So again, they want you to go into the tent, do the fortune thing. So they're they're going to be friendly until the party, who obviously has their own capability of being unfriendly or going to be hostile. Madame Ava, she knows the names of the PCs and she's going to know a little bit about them. She's going to ask if they want their fortune read. And if she agrees, we do the Fortunes of Ravenloft deal. I see. So, okay. So if they want to read their fortunes, you're going to do their fortunes using the Fortunes of Ravenloft that we already covered. But if they don't, that's why you do one in advance. The idea is if they do one themselves with Madame Ava, you use the one that they do. But on the off chance that nobody wants to have their fortune read, then you have one that's in your back pocket that you have already. We got some stats for Madame Ava. She may seem crazed and mad, but she is, in fact, quite cunning and sharp of mind. She's never fooled by adventurers. She's seen a good many in her time and is neutral. She serves Strahd as long as that benefits her and her troop. She never gives aid and never needs any, right? So you're not going to be able to tempt her to turn against Strahd. She knows where her bread is buttered. She's not going to give anything if you ask for help. She's not going to give it, and she's not going to ask for help. She's got her own game she's running, and she's going to stick to it. Zur Falls, bottom of the falls, carriage. Once again, you continue down the road. The road splits in two. Let's see, this is I. So we're talking about where are we now? So here are the falls. We keep going the road. We're going here. There's going to be a carriage. Let's see, the carriage. I guess the carriage is going to stop. Yep. So the carriage will stop and the door will open. The horses are under Strahd's control. They're going to say that let the PCs get in the carriage. There's plenty of room for everybody. PCs get in the carriage. Then it's going to go to area J. They cannot be discouraged. So if you get in, it's taking you essentially right to Strahd's front door, aka the gates of Ravenloft. Now we're getting into Ravenloft itself. Got a nice drawbridge. I don't know if it's a nice drawbridge, but it is a drawbridge. Let's see. Okay. The drawbridge creaks and groans under any weight, but is relatively sturdy. Each time anyone except Strahd crosses the drawbridge, there's a 5% chance of a crossboard breaking. If a crossboard breaks, the character on it must make a dexterity check or fall to the bottom of the cliffs 1,000 feet below. All right. So this is essentially a 5% save or die type situation. I mean, assuming the character doesn't have some kind of way to mitigate falling 1,000 feet. Right, because it doesn't say instant death, because maybe at 5th level you've got some spells, you've got some things to help you out, but 5% chance that you're going to stepping on a board, it's going to bust out from underneath you, then you got to make a dex check, or you're falling 1,000 feet down. A patch of green slime hangs over the entry tunnel. It turns living flesh into green slime in 1 to 4 melee rounds and eats through metal within 3 melee rounds. It can be scraped off quickly if the scraper is discarded, excised, frozen, or burned. A cure disease kills green slime. The slime will not fall on characters entering the castle. So there's slime here, but it says right now it's telling you if you're going in, it's not going to affect you. But it's obviously something that is a little sneak if you're coming out, but you do have a chance to spot it, presumably when you're going in. And then it's up to you as the player to remember that, oh yeah, there's green slime up there, and either you get rid of it right there, or now you're aware of it, but you have to remember it when you're coming out. Kind of one of those things that you get a hint of it going in, but it's up to you to remember it coming out. If you come out, use the Castle Ravenloft section to adventure inside the castle. Castle Ravenloft. Here we go. As the PCs enter the castle area, the weather worsens. Dismal rain starts to fall, turning into a torrent within an hour. This is kind of classic Gothic, right? Where the weather, the kind of outside is symptomatic of what's happening inside. The turmoil in Strahd and the situation with everybody's mentality becomes the outside, right? So it's turmoil inside, so it's turmoil outside. So as we're getting closer to the center of this turmoil, the weather is if anticipating what's happening becomes worse. It's sort of a classic trope. Here we got some random encounters for Castle Ravenloft. Roll 1d6. If the result is 1 or 2, they encounter something, and then we roll a d12. So 33 and 333% chance of encountering something. We got, let's see, what do we have? Bats, wraiths, zombies, giant spiders, angry villagers, gargoyles, more bats, gypsies, wights, and then use and then special and special. So here are the angry villagers, right? This is like straight out of Frankenstein. They're brandishing torches and pitchforks in a ridiculous display of force. I like that they call it ridiculous because we know reading this, and we should know that they're not going to have any chance of that. But they're here, and they are enraged, and they're shouting for justice. They're going to follow the PCs unless prevented from doing so. Oh, this is good. As long as the citizens are with the adventurers, random encounters occur on a roll of 1, 2, 3, or 4. So basically, you get a bunch of these angry villagers. They're not attacking you. They're not hostile, but they're going to make it a pain in the butt for you. If you're trying to stealth it through, it's going to be impossible because they're going to be ranting for justice. Got their pitchforks, they're banging them. They got their torches, they're waving around, and everything in the castle is going to converge on you. This is very, very kind of funny, or at least I see the sort of comic version of that. But it's pretty good because now as the PCs, what do? You have to try to convince these villagers to go home. You probably aren't going to kill them. I mean, evil parties might kill them, but if you're good aligned, you're going to be sort of stuck with what do you do with these villagers? How can you convince them to either stay put in one spot or to go home or to do something else? So it's kind of a funny problem, right? It's a different sort of issue than you might normally run into. Now let's go to the special encounters. So if you rolled 11 or 12 on the regular encounters, we're going to get a special 1 to 4 vampires, a groaning spirit. If the PCs have already defeated the spirit, roll again on the table. Okay. During darkness, the spirit may keen. If she does, everyone within hearing must save versus death rate or die on the spot. Wow. If the PCs have encountered her before and she keens, she cannot keen again. Oh boy. That is a tough one. During darkness, does that mean at night? I'm not sure what during darkness means. There might be something else to it, but man, that is a tough one. That is a save or die straight up. That's nasty. Let's see. 1 to 2 rust monsters also could be nasty. But they can't damage the sun sword. So if you figured out the riddle of steel, the riddle of the sun sword, then you can have them fight the rust monsters. 1 to 6 specters, helpful spirit. Unless attack, the spirit honestly answers one question from the PCs. The answer must be 25 words or less. After answering one question, or if it is attacked before answering, spirit disappears. That's nice. I like that. And there's Strahd. Each hit drains 2 levels. And then you have to go look back to his character page for more about him. So that's pretty nasty. I'm not sure about the during darkness. I mean, I would guess that means, and we'll go through some of these plane encounters to see if they say anything about a darkness effect, like if someone's cast a darkness spell or something similar. But I would assume that means at night. But it's not totally clear, right? They could have just said during the night between dusk and dawn, something like that would have been clearer. But it doesn't always. Sometimes with these not even older rules, with all rules, right? You as the author, you think it's clear what you mean, and then somebody reads it and they don't. That certainly happened to me when I've written stuff. So I'm not sure what they intend. Maybe we'll see. Otherwise, we'll just have to figure it out ourselves what we think they mean. We have a front courtyard. And basically read the box text. If the party's already been here before, then the drawbridge is up and the portcullis is down. So you're stuck. Or at least it's not the ordinary modes of egress are blocked once you've come in. Gate tower doors are locked. Characters who enter one of the gate towers find themselves on a rock floor with a hollow tower stretching skyward above them. The mechanism for raising and lowering the drawbridge and portcullis fills both gate towers. The latch mechanism in each gate tower is magically activated by a word that only Strahd knows. Neither the drawbridge nor the portcullis will move until both latches are activated, either by the secret word or by dispel magic. I always feel like dispel magic doesn't get enough love in various editions for being able to do stuff. I've actually thought about maybe trying to amp it up a bit in 5th edition, but here we go. So you either have to know the secret word, which means you probably are never going to know it, since I don't know under what circumstances Strahd is going to tell you, or you have to basically be in both spots and do dispel magic. I don't know. I mean, you could have an interesting little puzzle there, I guess, if you wanted to, about how much time between dispels you have to move between the towers. Do it, but essentially, either you got to figure out to do both towers and dispel, around about the same time to get to open, or you got to have Strahd's word, which you're probably not going to have. So you're more than likely stuck. A massive wall here joins the outer walls of the castle to the keep. Oh, this is the center court gate. The portcullis is unlocked and can be lifted open if characters whose combined strength exceeds 10 points lift for 1 round. So, this is another kind of easy thing. Basically, they're saying if you add up 2 characters or any number of characters and your strength exceeds 10, you can lift it for a round, right? Oh, my strength is 8, your strength is 12, that's 20. All right, you can, lift it. It's not really meant to be much of a barrier since most 2 characters probably, and sometimes 1 character is right. 10 is average, so probably 1 character can hold it open, but obviously 2 or more almost. I can't imagine if you have 2 characters who add their strengths together is less than 10. That would be rough. So it's easy to lift, but you're going to have to do it. It's not going to stick up. So there's room there. If you had a 10-foot pole, you could maybe prop it in place or something because it is not seemingly heavy to lift. Servants' court, carriage house, chapel garden, and overlook. Then we go on the main floor, which is map 3. Okay, main floor. The entry. The PCs enter this room through the west doors. The dragons will not attack. If anyone except Strahd enters this room through the east doors, the dragons come alive, drop to the floor, hissing and spitting, and attack. These are clearly small dragons. These small dragons allow adventurers into the castle, but not out of it. Whenever this room is empty, the dragons return to their perches and turn to stone. The dragons never leave this room. Oh, so I guess I should read the box text for this. Is kind of important. So essentially, there are 4 statues of dragons that glare down, their eyes flickering in the torchlight. So if they've come in through the east, right? So if they came from the west, they're entering here for essentially saying, okay, if you're coming in from the outside, you're entering the castle. Yeah, they're not going to bother you. They're here to keep you. They're here to keep you in. They're not here to keep you out. But they never leave. They're red dragons, AC -1. So they're hard to hit. 9 HD. They have. They don't have very many hit. HP 18, but they have 3 attacks. 1d8, 1d8, 3 to 30. Is that a breath weapon? I guess maybe you have to reference. They're kind of mini red dragons. So I guess maybe you have to reference their monster manual entry to see what that 3 to 30. It sounds like maybe that's a breath weapon, but it's not specifically said. It's I really like the compact stat blocks that you can do in kind of OSR old school D&D, but sometimes they had room to be a little bit less compact than just say, if they put 1d8 claw, 1d8 fang, 330 fire, cone, breath weapon, or breath, whatever, that would have been enough and would have plenty of room on that line to do it without messing up any kind of typography. So it's a little bit of a shame they didn't add just that little bit of information. That means I don't have to go reference another book. But say la vie. All right, great entry. This is full of cobwebs, dust-filled columns. After all the PCs leave this room, the gargoyles attack any PC that returns. So again, they're pushing you forward. So you got gargoyles in here. They're not going to bother you when you come in. But if you leave and then come back, then they're on top of you. So they're trying to keep pushing you deeper in. The PCs are entering this hall for the first time. Use the first box description. If they've been here before, read the second one. So obviously something is changed. So in the first box, so when you're entering the first time, there are torchlight flutters. And now it's in darkness. Let's see. There's nothing about that. I wonder if that's where that scroning spirit during darkness. I don't know. They don't mention the spirit in here. And there is a suit of armor, but it is plate mail. It's got a 40% chance it'll fit any human party member. This is one of those nice. I like it, but it could be annoying, right? So here's a suit of plate mail. You're 5th level, so you maybe off the bat you should need it. But then again, there are rust monsters earlier on, and who knows what's happened since you've come in Barovia. So here there's plate mail, but it a lot of times I think we just sort of hand wave how it fits, right? We just say, okay, anyone grabs it, it fits. But here they're saying, no, look, there's a 40% chance it'll fit any human party member. So not just 40% chance it'll fit anybody, but you have to be human, and then you have a 40% chance. So if you're all a party of dwarves or elves, there's no chance it's going to fit you. I kind of like that stuff. It's fun. It makes you feel to care more for your equipment than just, I don't know, this idea that anything around just happens to magically fit you regardless of your stature or whatnot. But it's kind of but it can also be one of those things that can be aggravating, right? Because if you're not a human in this instance, you're kind of jammed if you needed armor. But maybe there are other instances where it'll fit only elves or dwarves if we were in an elven or dwarven centric adventure. Let's see okay, so now we're moving. Oops, let me go forward. We're moving into the dining hall. The first time the PCs enter the room, the figure at the organ welcomes them and invites them to dine. It's an illusion of Strahd, created with mirrors in the room. Strahd himself is elsewhere. The figure can be seen in the mirrors. So if you're using the mirrors to try to guess if that's Strahd and we're going by vampire rules, it is not Strahd because the mirrors do show the figure. The figure converses with the figure converses with the PCs for 3 rounds, never moving from the organ. When 3 rounds are over, or if the illusion is attacked, it simply disappears with a mocking laugh. The moment the figure disappears, a fierce, bone-chilling wind rises up and roars through the hall, putting out all the non-magical lights. The PCs hear the screech of ancient hinges and the solid thud of many heavy doors slamming shut, one after another, into the distance. They also hear the portcullis clanging shut and the tired groan of the aged drawbridge pulling up. After you describe those sounds, use the following box text description. The vast room is dark. A wind whistles through its confines. Crystal sings in the darkness as the great chandeliers rustle in the wind. The fragrance of food wafts its way through the darkened hall. Behind the organ is a secret door to the south ground archer's post. Okay. So this is when everything is going to click, right? So now they've entered this room. Up until now, it seemed everything's been dormant. So I guess that's the idea, right? So if we go back, we track back from the beginning. The PCs are first entering, they're first moving through. Nothing is attacking them, or at least nothing set is attacking them, because there are those random encounters. The statues, the gargoyles, everything's just waiting, just waiting, just waiting. Now they get here, and now it's like the trap is sprung, and kind of like, again, one of those horror film gothic tropes, all the doors slamming shut, everything, bam, the Roach Motel has sprung into action. And now if they try to go back through everything, the gargoyles, the dragons, all that stuff is all going to come out, try to keep them inside. And it would have been nice maybe if they had, they could have told us basically this overall strategy maybe at the beginning, is give us some general overview of how the castle is going to work, but they don't. So you have to read through and take your notes and understand that once they get here and they interact with this organ player, that these things are going to happen, and that changes how all these other rooms are going to be going forward. So you can get to the South Ground Archer's Post. This is the room from where the illusionary figure of Strahd is worked. The floating figure is actually a mannequin suspended by black cords from the ceiling. Okay, so basically, you get into this secret area, it just kind of shows you the mannequin that was the basis for the illusory player. Turret post access hall of faith. So the statues are harmless. It's a little trick if the party's been wandering through and maybe gone back into rooms and been attacked by statues. Now they get a hall of statues, and none of these statues do anything, which could lead to a little bit of fun with the party as they try to figure out if there's a trigger for the statues to come to life, or if they just not wanting to dare on chance if they start attacking and hacking at the statues. Chapel of Ravenloft, which I believe is one of the fortune spots. The small statue. Sorry. Let me read. I guess I got to read through the text first. Dim colored light filters through broken and boarded up stained glass windows, illuminating the ancient chapel of Ravenloft. Pews and benches lie about the floor in jumbled disarray, coated with centuries of dust. Beyond this debris, lit by a single piercing shaft of light, an altar stands upon the platform. The light falls directly on a small statue. Okay, so I guess this is the thing. The figure is draped over the altar. The room seems as though nothing has disturbed it in centuries and that nothing ever could. The small statue is the icon of Ravenloft. The figure is all that remains of a mighty evil cleric who attempted to obtain the icon of Ravenloft. Check your forces Ravenloft results for a possible encounter and other treasure in this room. There you go. So if you had this in your fortune, then Strahd would be here. The Icon of Ravenloft is a holy artifact of tremendous lawful good power. The artifact adds +4 bonus to turn any undead and heals 6 to 21, 3d6 plus 3 hit points once per day when used by Cleric of Good Alignment. The icon is a small carving of the purest silver. It is 12 inches tall and 6 inches across. The ceiling in this room and the balcony over the west wall cannot be seen from the floor without extra torches. If the PCs are right in the room, they see the figures sitting on the balcony in room K28. K28 is King's Worship Place. Okay. So this could be where you meet Strahd. Icon of Ravenloft's a pretty big game changer, and if Strahd's not in here, there's nothing to stop you from taking it. There's no traps or anything, and it's just here. So you can just snag it, and hopefully you have a chaotic. Hope you have a cleric of good who can make use of it. I guess the +4 bonus works for any kind of cleric, but you got to be good for the healing effect. Once per day, so it's not going to, you can't. Obviously it's going to get it back every 24 hours, but it's not going to give you more than one extra shot for one person. But 6 to 12, 3 6 plus 3 hit points is pretty good. And we have North Chapel alcoves, more harmless statues. South Chapel alcoves, which again have even more harmless statues. And then we have the Organ Man. Right. High tower staircase. Let's see. Just below one part, a solid masonry wall completely blocks the staircase. A small chink in the masonry wall allows gas to pass from one side to the other. And then it continues on up. Basically, you got to be able to go gaseous form to get through there. Though I assume if you had picks and equipment, you could try to hack your way through. But for the adventurers, that will be a dead end. Unless they have some kind of powers or abilities or spells to go into kind of gaseous form to pass through. The high tower shaft. Wind blows up the shaft. Anyone falling down the shaft from what's K59? I wish they would put the names in. Let's see. So if you were up at the high tower peak and you fall, you're taking a bunch of damage. 20d6. Probably dead. Grand Landing. Stairways leading up to the audience hall. Okay, let's see. Anyone crossing in front of the alcoves activate the suits of armor. So we have a TWAP. Suits of armor are rigged to a mechanical device activated by pressure plates. 60% chance that any weight over 400 gold pieces, which is 40 pounds, activates a trap. So basically anybody's going to activate it. Presumably everybody's going to weigh at least 40 pounds. If you roll within 60%. When activated, one of the suits springs forward, filling its arms and mace. It hits and does 1 to 4, which is really a d4 points of damage. If it rolls 16 plus on a d20, after leaping out, it retracts. Only leap again if weight is still on the plate. The device is purely mechanical and acts very much like a puppet. This little joke is intended to spook more than damage. Of course, because it doesn't do much damage and it looks goofy. But it's funny. Very much like a haunted house, right? This is actually a haunted house that has some silly haunted house trappings in it. I wonder, it's interesting to read. It would be nice to have like an author's note. Here's what I meant to do with this particular location, because it is kind of funny. It is definitely pulling in like something you would see at a haunted house in an amusement park. But clearly this place is dangerous. Was it meant to sort of fool the party into thinking that things are not as deadly as maybe they are? Like what's the intent, right? What was the authorial intent behind the Grand Landing? Now we have the Tower Hall of Honor. Here's something interesting. The Guardian of Sorrow is this tower. So let's read it. The Guardian of Sorrow is this tower. This tower, including the spiral staircase, is alive. The Guardian's heart hangs at the top of the tower. There are 10 halberds mounted on the tower walls along the spiral staircase. The Guardian uses the halberds to attack the characters. The tower itself shakes and pitches, causing all characters on the stairs to make a dexterity check every round or fall from the staircase to the floor below. Characters may crawl up the stairs at 1/4 of their movement rate without having to make dexterity checks. Only blows to the pulsing heart overhead can damage the Guardian. That reminds me of, I guess it's a Farford and the Grey Mouser, where they go to someone's treasure haul are trying to find some guy's treasure, which is in a little building. And spoilers, the building's alive, and they have to figure that out. And they end up getting out, and they don't really end up getting much of the treasure, but they have to take out the living house. So that kind of reminds me of that. And maybe that's where they got the inspiration from. I don't know. But it's definitely a fun thing, a different sort of challenge, right? Because you can't really do anything until you get up to that heart. So you have to have, I guess, the will and determination to go up there, to not just back away when this thing starts going crazy. Get up through the halberds, either crawling but going slow, and then taking more damage potentially, or taking your chances with the dexterity checks, try to get up there fast, and then hacking at that heart. Okay, here we go. It's Tower Hall stair, South Tower stair, Archer's Post, Servant's Entrance. There's skeletons here, but they don't do anything. There's an ancient book, weathered and brittle, but the ink is fresh. Or there's an inkwell with fresh ink in it. At the top of each page is scribed, please register for your own convenience and that of your next of kin. Very funny. The book is over half filled with names. All of the names are illegible. So you got a bunch of names in there. I suppose you could have fun with if it was all the adventurers who had failed the first time and gotten in here and wrote their names in. But of course, you can't read them, so you can't. So of course, we GMs, we can change that if we want to, right? But by default, they're illegible. But the party could write their names in, which could be kind of fun. Funny little moment. Servants' quarters. Now we're at Court of the Count. Oh, whoops, I forgot to change pages again. Sorry about that. Court of the Count. That says now we're using map 4, which is that here. Court of the Count. Audience hall. Got a small dais. There's a secret door. Staircase is in the north wall. And then check. This is another possible Fortunes of Ravenloft spot. We have a guard's post. 2 figures are skeletons hung here long ago, each held up by spears stuck through it into the wall behind it. That's nice. The skeletons are harmless, even though they're both holding spears. Okay, so it's more just atmosphere, right? It's going to be kind of like, it's going to seem grisly because it's going to look like they were just kind of Vlad the Impaler style, like you just impaled these guys into the wall there and left them, and now they're skeletons. They've been hanging there ever since. The Hall of Grace. Okay, there's some kind of shadow effect. Shadows seem to dance across the distant ceiling. It's just from the torches. Moaning is still in the wind. So it's more atmosphere. You've got moaning wind, you've got dancing shadows, but it's not anything supernatural. And this maybe is, it's more thematic with that Grand Landing, as you're running into this stuff that is thematically gothic, but not supernatural. These are not really shadows in a spirit sense. It's not haunted armor in the other sense. It's all mundane, but it has that atmospheric, gothic element to it. King's worship place. Got some zombies. They attack if any member of the party looks around the edge of the thrones. Otherwise, they remain still. Okay, so it's kind of fun, right? Because you have these things where you have things that attack you and then things that don't attack you. We've just passed a couple of skeletons and things that just are totally mundane. Now we get here to these zombies, and now when you do look, maybe you've become a little bit felt falsely that you're secure, and you think, okay, it's just more of the stuff that's not going to attack us. Now, bam, they attack. So you're setting up these expectations and you're going against them. But of course, overall, right, the party should be very cautious of stuff because we are in a vampire's castle in a gothic setting with all kinds of undead stuff. So I don't think it's an unfair trick, because the expectation of all this stuff should be that it is all supernatural, not that it's just skeletons and stuff, or just bones and decaying bodies. Okay, Creaking Landing. May seem unstable, but is quite sturdy. Office of the King's Accountant. A figure crouches atop a tall stool, scratching a seemingly endless scroll of paper with a dry quill pen. A rope hangs next to the creature from a hole in the ceiling. That's a creepy image. The figure is Leaf Lipsiege. I don't know. An accountant. He is chained to the desk and has no interest in the PCs or their concerns. Under no circumstances will he voluntarily leave this room. Leaf will pull the rope whenever he feels threatened. All right, so what happens when he feels threatened? All right, so he was pressed into service by Strahd ages ago. He keeps all the books, records everything. He's been there longer than he can remember. He's grumpy. Let's see. The Count does not allow him to know about all his treasures, but Leaf found out where one of the treasures is. So, okay, so the Count doesn't tell him everything, but he's figured out one something. And if you're kind to him, he'll tell them the location of the holy symbol of Ravenkind. Is that the one that was in the? That's no. It's okay. So the thing in the chapel was the icon of Ravenloft. This is the holy symbol of Ravenkind. Okay, so we get to treasures and tomes later on. We can see what that's about. And then we got to, oh, so that is that the object? Then check your Fortunes of Ravenloft results for where the symbol is. So maybe that's the object that the fortune talks about. Leipzig will draw a crude map of how to get to the symbol. His map should be geographically accurate, but must not avoid any of the traps or other dangers that may lie in the way. Leaf will not necessarily know the most direct route to the symbol. Okay. You're going to get some kind of map, but it's not going to be, it's not one that's going to give you an end around to all the traps and tricks. If the rope is pulled, a tremendously loud gong sounds. Within 1 to 10 minutes, a monster from table 6 appears and attacks the PCs. Treat the monster as a normal random encounter. Okay, about what, 1 to 10 minutes. So you pull the gong and nothing happens for a long time. That's kind of funny. Scattered about the room under the papers are 20,000 copper pieces, 1,000 gold pieces, 500 platinum pieces, and 100 reference books on accounting procedures worth 10 gold pieces each. So, yeah, fair. I mean, it's not terrible treasure, but it's, a lot of stuff to carry. 100 reference books that are worth 10 GP each. So, yeah, it's 1,000 GP worth of books, but that's a lot to carry. So, probably not going to be the loot that you're going to want to drag with you as you're going along. Trap books. This machinery raises a stone compartment from K61. Oh, please just tell me the names. K61 is the hallway in the Larders of Ill Omen. 40% chance that any character who tries to activate the mechanism can do so. If activated, all the gears, ropes, and pulleys move at once. While cared for, the device operates relatively quietly. When the trap is moving, a 10-foot wide stone compartment rises past trap shaft or past the trap works. There's a secret door in the top of the compartment. Anyone riding on the roof of the compartment while it goes up the shaft will be crushed against the top of the shaft within 1 round, taking 3d10 points of damage. Okay, so you can get onto this apartment, and then you can get compartment, then you can get inside. The steep shaft smells of well-oiled wood. There's a large wooden screw along each wall and lawn. Okay, this shaft is 203. Okay, so that's the trap shaft. Let's see, am I up? Trap access, Maid's Hall. There's a vampire here named Helga. Aha, so she's another sneaky one. Maid Helga is a vampire who will attack the PCs only when an opportunity to do so without having to fight the entire party presents itself. She also attacks if commanded to do so by Strahd. So Helga's there, but she's not, if the whole party comes in, she's not just going to attack them. She's waiting. She's going to wait for some kind of opportunity. And she will join the party if asked to. And she'll say she's the daughter of a villager, cruelly forced into the service of Strahd. She will plead on her hands and knees, if necessary, to be saved from this awful place. She will play the part of the innocent female to the last, only revealing her ferocity as a vampire when she attacks. She is, in fact, the daughter of one of the townspeople, but she chose a life of evil with Strahd. So she's telling the truth, which is interesting because if the PCs were to have some means of verifying the truth, or they want to make some rules to whether she's telling the truth, and she says, "Oh, I was a villager," then that's true. I mean, maybe the part of being forced into service is false, but her claim to be a daughter of the villager is correct. So she could be a sneaky thing because she can sit there and hang out with the party, and maybe when they get to Strahd, or maybe they get somewhere else and they get into trouble and they get separated, she's with a PC or maybe 2 PCs, and then she springs into action. So could be really sneaky if you play it right. And as we've been told, we are supposed to play it right. Okay, King's apartment stair, servants upper floor, rooms of weeping. This is map 5. So we've moved into the rooms of weeping, facing guardians. Okay, so these race, and they're just going to straight up attack when anyone tries to go through. 2 wraiths. Nasty. Dining hall of the Count. Got wooden doors. Toy figures of the groom from the top of a wedding cake was cast on the floor. The PCs can find it if they search through the dust on the floor. Okay. I'm not sure what that does for them, but that's a little. Oh, I see. It just goes with it. So you can kind of put together that there was a wedding here, or maybe they're supposed to be, because you're going to find the woman from the wedding cake, and then you can find the man. But I'm not sure what that. Excuse me, what that does for you, but you can find it. Now we go to the study. Likeness of the burgomaster's daughter, Irina. The painting is obviously centuries old, but the likeness is unmistakable. 2 separate doors in the north hall wall. Another door is in the south wall, instead of double doors in the west wall. A lot of doors. And there's a secret door behind the fireplace, opened by lifting the poker from its stand. They have to put the fire out before they can move through the fireplace, or they're going to take damage. Makes sense. And check the Fortress of Ravenloft if there's anything else there. Okay. False Treasury. Skeleton of a man lies against the wall in broken plate armor. His right hand is on his throat, while his left hand holds the matching torch from the empty sconce. So this is a false treasury, and there's 50 gold pieces, 100 silver pieces, 2,000 copper pieces scattered around the trap-rigged chest. The chest is unlocked. It opens easily, sending out a sleeping gas that makes characters unconscious for 1 to 4 hours. To avoid the sleeping gas, characters must make a saving throw versus poison with a penalty of -4. All the characters fall asleep. They all awake unharmed in room K50, which is the guest room. 4 hours later, if any of the characters remain awake, nothing further takes place as a result of this trap. If the torch is taken from the dead man's hand and placed back into the empty sconce, the secret door on the north side of the east wall opens, leading to the Hall of Riches. Taking the torch from the sconce at any time reverses the process. A good tactic for any wandering monster that encounters the characters in the Hall of Riches is to remove the torch here in the false treasury, trapping them in that hall. That is a good tactic. And most of the monsters, I think, are fairly intelligent. So, and that's again something that you could have fun if Helga is around, because Helga could, do something which she means to be helpful or thinks is helpful, or she pretends to be helpful, in which case she's actually trapping people in that other room, splitting the party and then making it easier for her to attack. Ancient halls choked with spider webs. Their dusty forms hide the very walls and ceilings. The webs are broken by a single cleared path down the center of the room. There's a secret door behind some cobwebs. Now the belfry. Rats in the belfry, or in this case, giant spiders in the belfry. All right. Treasury. The following treasures are in this room: 50,000 copper pieces, 10,000 silver pieces, 10,000 gold pieces, 1,000 platinum pieces, 1,500 gold piece gems, 10 1,000 gold piece jewels, a magical sword +2, glowing, 3 maces, each +3. Check your fortunes of Ravenloft results. Okay. So everything could be here. Strahd could be here. Everything could be here, but at the minimum, you got a bunch of treasure. Some of it's going to be a lot to haul away at this point. But you get a glowing sword +2 and 3 maces, each +3. Those are awfully nice. You can always just take the jewelry and come back later for the the coin loot if you remember. Bedchamber. Let's see. Gertruda is here. Gertruda is innocent. Oh, the figure in the bed is Gertrude. Okay, Gertruda is that lady from the village, right? She's the daughter of Mad Mary from the village. Gertruda is oblivious to any dangers to herself, especially from Strahd, sheltered by her mother all of her life. Gertruda is innocent and believes only in a rather fairy tale view of life. When faced with a decision, Gertruda almost always makes the most simplistic choice. She is naive to the point of being a danger to herself and others. Fortunately, Strahd has not yet bitten her. He is intent on his current plot and is saving her for later. So, okay. So she could be an interesting person because she will probably follow you. She'll do whatever you say, but she'll probably do whatever anyone says. Again, Helga could have fun with that if she's here. And she's someone who possibly then slows you down, but maybe you can convince her, since she is so simple, to stay here or do something else. So some fun role-playing situations could come out of that. We have a bath chamber. We have a closet. We have the Hall of Heroes. Heroes. So we have some statues. Imbued with the spirits of long lost ancestors of Ravenloft who grieve at the loss of Ravenloft's former glory. Each spirit, one in each of the 10 statues, will answer one question for the PCs if asked directly. The spirit's answer should be short and vague. There's a 20% chance that each spirit's answer is wrong. Oh, that's interesting. Of course, you got to roll that in advance before you start squawking. I guess that's Arena and the portrait of Arena. And here she is. She's come with you. She's armed. She's ready to rock and roll. Courtyard Overlook. Spires of Ravenloft. Now in map 6. Was map 6. There we go. The landing. There's a portrait here. Let's see. Beside this door, an ancient portrait stands watch over the area. Its still eyes staring defiantly back at your own. A base 10% chance that each member of the party sees the eyes in the portrait shift to look at them. The portrait attacks the PCs only if they attack it or if they try to enter this room through the door in the west wall. Trap door in the floor leads to 31A. Is that trap? Oh, the trap. Okay, so this is that trap from that earlier room we encountered. Here we go. The portrait attacks with its spells. The portrait's material spell components are built into its frame. That's cool because it's something that you could use to be descriptive about stuff popping off or disappearing from the frame or crumpling up or otherwise being activated with the spells. The portrait tries to hold characters in front of it until Strahd commands it to release them. When the frame is destroyed, the painting loses all its power. It's got levitate and hypnotic pattern as its spells. Okay. Off stair. And that's just a stairway. Then we have the lounge. Got some books. Obviously, there's not really any help. They're just flavor. We've got embalming the lost art, life among the undead, learning to cope. Like stuff out of Beetlejuice. Identifying blood types, a beginner's handbook, nice, and masonry and woodworking. This again, they're having some fun, right? It's not everything is serious here in Ravenloft. Identifying blood types, a beginner's handbook is great for the up and coming vampire in your life. Of course, the lost art of embalming. So I like life among the undead, learn to cope. Seems like it should be a classic in the newly undead literature. I mean, I'm almost surprised there isn't an ad for Beetlejuice in that mix of books. Okay. Am I in the right spot? Yep. Closet. Oh, wait a minute. In the guest room, no danger during the day. During the night, the witches from the cauldron room, they'll come through here. They'll attack with a sleep spell, and they'll take somebody back to their lair. Okay. So it's okay during the day, but at night, witches are coming. And again, that might be what they meant. That other thing about the spirit from day and night, again, which would have been clearer than darkness, which implies maybe that it could be dark and not night. And you're in a haunted castle, so that clearly could be the case. So, but anyway, here it's pretty clear. At night, witches come and hang out. We got a closet here, and there's a trap door in the ceiling. So the witches will come at night to attack. There's a smokestack. Goes down to the fireplace. We get the rooftop. Okay, 30% chance per round that anyone attempting to traverse this roof will start to fall towards the edge. They must make dexterity checks to catch themselves. Normal damage from the fall is 10d6 to those who fall and fail. Thieves can use their climb wall ability here, of course, but with a 10% penalty. All right, the roof hangs out over the overlook. So then they have a rooftop and they just give you some, they're giving you the mechanics you need. I kind of like, I like this as a thing, right? So you have a rooftop which has maybe a question for a GM as to if they're on the roof and they're going to do something and the obvious thing is to go across it, then how do you deal with that? Because the basic mechanics, old school D&D may very well not cover that. So here they tell you straight up, we know you're going to try to run across the room. We know there's not a specific run across the room mechanic. So here is one. Plus, here's the damage it's going to do if you fail. And here's how we know that there's a special ability for thieves that mitigates this. So here's how that works. And it's not going to be obviously all encompassing because, as we know, like in 5th edition, if you have books are adding races and classes and things after something is written. It's not going to be all encompassing, but here it gives you the baseline, right? Which is good. Familiar room. Use map 7 for these rooms. Where's map 7? Oh, here we go. Spires of Ravenloft. So now we're in this little area here. There are 3 black cat familiars in here. These are the cat familiars, the witches. Okay. If the familiars see the PCs here, the witches are alerted. All right. So that's kind of the importance there. You've been made. If the cats see you here, you've been made. Element room. There's a trapdoor in the floor. They might see the disturbance of dust. Dust appears as though something was dragged across the floor from the trapdoor to the doorway. The bundles contain clearly marked elements of magical use. Eye of Newt, Hair of Bat, Snail Hearts, and Mare Sweat. There are no potions here, but you're obviously, look, anybody's been playing, assuming it's about anybody's going to read Eyes of Newt and they're going to speak witch, right? Which is kind of the point. They're setting up the fact that these witches are here because, of course, the next place is Cauldron Room. 7 human witches. They're not playing around. They're going to attack. They can cast 2 spells. We'll see. And they got a whole bunch of different spells. That's a lot of spells they can attack. They can cast. They have a spell book. It's evil. Oh, so right. So it does damage to anybody who's non-evil who tries to touch it. I miss that stuff. I like that stuff. It helps make alignments meaningful. If meaningful things happen with alignments, I like the alignment of magic items and swords and things like that. And I like this, that it is evil aligned. If you are not evil aligned, it's going to hurt you. But it can be handled by evil characters. It contains all the spells the wishes know, plus a few more. Ooh, it's worth 42 grand, almost 43 grand gold pieces. But you're not going to find until after the witches are destroyed. Okay. I'm not sure why not, but I guess maybe they want you to make sure it's loot for winning the encounter and not, you're not grabbing it and running. Though I would allow you to grab it and run if you could get it in the midst of all those witches and then get out again. I'd give it to you. Let's see. This says map 8. Now we're up here. Parapet pentagram. Top of the tower. Let's see. Courtyard is 190 feet below. Anyone falling off the edge takes a whole bunch of 19d6 damage, aka a whole lot. The roof of the keep is 80 feet from this point. So if you fall off, okay, so that's interesting. So Gillespie gives you basically if you're falling all the way down, or if you're falling basically down to the roof. And if you fall down to the roof, you got to make another dex check, or you're falling off the roof to the courtyard. So that's cute. Let's see the bridge. Okay. High Tower Peak. North Tower Peak. So it could be a Fortune of Ravenloft location. Now we're back to using map 11 for the Larders of Ill Omen. Omen. Get the hallway, elevator trap. Okay. I'm not going to read through the trap. Characters who are not trapped see the stone walls fall around their fellow adventurers. Here's several terrible grinding noises from within for one melee round, and then watch the stones of portcullis rise, revealing a clear corridor. Aha, because it's an elevator trap. Where did those characters go? Servants' Hall. There's another portcullis, double doors. The figure, a dark figure shuffles purposely down the corridor towards you. That is Cyrus Bellevue. He's a human. Poor old Cyrus is obviously crazy. He has served the master for uncounted years and is totally devoted to him. He's like the Renfield. Cyrus tries to get the PCs to retire to your room in the tower, which, yes. If the PCs do not go to that, K49 is saying the room in the tower being the lounge, which has those embalming books and whatnot. If they don't go there, he returns to his work preparing dinner in the kitchen. He tends to giggle to himself for almost no apparent reason. He likes to tell poor jokes at the most inopportune moments. Okay. He doesn't give you any examples of jokes. So I guess come up with you want to prep this, you can make a list of really bad jokes and keep them on hand for Cyrus. There's a wine cellar. There's kind of I guess it's a secret door hidden way. A little crack. I guess it's really, again, if you're in gaseous form, it's 1/2 inch wide by 5 inches long. That leads to K18, which is something way at the beginning. K18. This is really more for Strahd getting around. That leads to the high tower staircase. That's something you have to make note of as the GM. That's really only Strahd's really going to be able to take advantage of that, unless someone else has kind of a gaseous form type ability. Let's see. That's the wine cellar. We have the guard stair. Now we're in the kitchen. There are zombies in a pot. If they look in the pot, the zombies are attacking. If Cyrus is here, when they attack, he grabs a large club near the door and tries to beat them back into the pot. This is, again, more funny stuff. He just isn't the cook he used to be, and his meals tend to get out of hand. So, yeah. So, kind of some gothic horror humor, right? The zombie's trying to get out. If Cyrus is here, he tries to beat them back into the pot. Talks about them getting out of hand. Funny stuff. Butler's headquarters or Butler's quarters. Nothing's here. Ooh, creepy. So Cyrus is with them for some reason. He's fingering their equipment and chuckling. He's been picking up equipment from Dead Adventures for years. He looks forward to adding to his collection after Strahd gets through the PCs. That's creepy. Kind of like in those Western movies when you enter town and the mortician starts measuring you as you're walking down the main street, main drag. Guards hall. Let's see. There's a door. Okay, nothing dangerous or anything in there. There's the guards run, guards quarters. When the characters enter the hall halfway, 10 skeletons leap from the alcoves and attack. They got skeletons. They're coming. 10 of them. If you've got that thing from the icon, that would help on the turn checks or just turn destroy checks. But otherwise, you got 10 skeletons. So remember, I'm not reading through the random encounters. So a lot of these seem like there's nothing going on, but there's a lot of potential encounters along the way. Really, what we're getting emphasized here is the set encounters, stuff that's not depending on rolling random encounter checks. Kingsman's Hall, Kingsman Quarters, Office of Vengeance. A shadow demon lives in this room. After the end of the room, the demon will leap out and attack. Secret door on the north end of the west wall leads to the something. Leads to the western stair, which is later on. Okay, so we got a shadow demon. Let's see. He looks like he's a nasty customer. He can cast darkness, 10-foot radius, fear once per day. See, takes half damage in darkness or torchlight, immune to cold, immune to fire, cold, and lightning. Turns as a special undead, 50% chance of going undetected. So he's going to be fairly nasty. In darkness or in torchlight. So again, at night, he's particularly nasty because he's only going to take half damage, and then he's immune to fire, cold, and lightning. So, and you have to have +2. Oh no, that's a special attack. Sorry, got +2 to hit. He's not. You can hit him with normal weapons, but he's taking half damage. All those things, and he's taking half damage if you're not in the daylight. If illuminated by a torch, the demon becomes AC 5, only +1 to hit, and takes normal damage. Okay. If a light spell is cast upon it, the demon takes 1d6 points of damage per level of the caster as if struck by a fireball. That's nice. The demon appears as a shadowy humanoid form with dim red eye slits. Kind of classic horrible thing imagery. So, there's some gives you a little clever workarounds. If the party casts light on it, it's like you got hitting it with a fireball, which is good. If you get it in torchlight. So it's a shadow, and if your party thinks in terms of thinking of this as a shadow, what kind of things we can do to banish a shadow? Light, flame, then they get a little extra juice for it, and it makes it an easier encounter. Now we're in the Dungeon and Catacomb. This is map 12. Okay, let's see. Running a little bit short on time, but I think I'm nearing the end. So let's see how we can cruise through here. Floor beneath. Okay, the stairs descend to black, still water that fills an arched hallway before you. Okay, so it's all wall. Oh, so it's the floor beneath the water is not as solid. There's a safe path. See diagram A, where the rest of the floor is covered with special weight-sensitive trap doors. 5% chance per 10 pounds of weight that a person standing on the false floor will cause the trap to open. The pit under each trapdoor is a teleport that's activated by the opening door. Floor beneath the water. Okay, so it's got some traps, but it doesn't say how deep the water is. Doesn't say how deep. So I guess you can walk on the water. I mean, it's not so deep you can't walk in it. It's interesting that it doesn't say how deep the water is. Okay, I guess we assume it's not so deep that they're not going to walk. I don't know. Interesting. I think I think the water is for kind of creepy atmosphere. So maybe it's, I don't know. It could be knee height, maybe higher, maybe you want it lower. Maybe I'm reading it where it says, no, it doesn't seem, I can't see it. Anyway. Oh, wait, trapped characters closes the floor 5 feet underwater. Trapped characters are teleported into dungeon cells closed with iron bars. The floor 5 feet underwater. So 5 feet underwater. And Strahd will go after people who get trapped if they can. So that's nasty. And of course, if you've got Helga with you, she might be waiting for a couple people to get trapped, and then she attacks the remainders. This could be a really nasty spot if you're not careful. North dungeon, 40 feet long corridors, a secret door 5 feet up the north wall of the cell that leads to a polished marble slide. Secret door can only be opened from another spot, which is K82. Again, hey, come on. Just put the names. What you think you're saving space with referencing it by letter numbers. I mean, I like the letter numbers as parenthetical, just not as the only way of identifying it. Okay, so it's called marble slide. Okay. Secret door can only be opened from the marble slide. Each cell listed below. In each cell listed below, many previous adventurers gave up their gold. All the items are lying underwater. All right. So in cell A, so there's basically just a bunch of different amounts of loot. But in cell H is another +2 sword, lawful good. Ooh, ego. It's an intelligence sword. Intelligence 11, ego 9. That's fun. I like those. I like those magic swords. Maybe I'll have to do a different video on magic swords, but an intelligence sword glowing in one of the cells. And we go into the south dungeon. There's a werewolf here. Appears as a villager. He begs the PCs to rescue him. He was locked in here by Strahd because he disobeyed Strahd. He's anxious to prove his worth, so he'll try to join the party and attack the PCs at the first good chance. So here we have another one. If Helga's been hanging around this whole time, now we have this other, what we think is a nice person who's going to end up being an accomplice to Strahd. And remember, Helga and this werewolf are going to know each other. So you could play around with if there's some little knowing winks, nods, or other, body language if they're trying to kind of communicate. But you're almost seeding the party with traitors with these other creatures. Of course, this can backfire because you can end up in a situation if you use this trope a lot of having these sort of traitorous would-be allies that your party will soon learn not to trust anybody or have anybody join them because they will know good and well that anybody who joins them is just a weapon to be used against them. So it's something to be used with care. But I think this kind of mod, this kind of feel is a good spot for it. But it's not something to be abused. The torture room, we got 6 zombies. They're going to slowly rise up out of the water. That's nice and creepy. Slime, gray arms clawing upward through the water as they attack. So great imagery. And if you needed help with the imagery, there's a picture to really seal that in. And then we have the observation balcony. There is a bag with 600 platinum pieces. The brazier room, not that kind of brazier. Dirty mind. Keep your mind clean. Iron golems, each one with a stone in their hand. Let's see the writing on the base. Oh, there's an hourglass. Gargoyles, carved smiles. 2 iron statues saluting, hold with their weapons bared. 4 arms, one with a sword, or one with a shield, one with a sword, and the remaining 2 with their palms toward the ceiling over their heads. Their eyes seem to watch you. An hourglass with writing on its base hangs suspended over the brazier. All of its sand is in the upper portion, somehow refusing to run down in the bottom. That's a cool image. In the center of the room, next to the brazier, is a golden chest. A single door stands the south wall. 3 doors line the north wall. Okay. Statues are all iron golems. Each golem holds a stone in each hand. Ooh, 2 iron golems. Immune to all spells except electricity. which slows them to 50% movement. Magical fire-based attacks repair instead of damage, so they are extremely nasty. 80 hit points. They do 40-10 each damage. Let's see. On the base of the hourglass reads, in the palm of my hand is the time left to thee. When it's consumed, will the flames set you free? So it's a little riddle there, but for what? We're not sure. Okay, all the doors in this room are spring-loaded and shut on their own if not prevented from doing so. When all the doors are shut, the sand in the hourglass starts falling and will run for 5 rounds. All of the doors lock shut. After the sand runs out, the golems activate and attack for 5 rounds. They then return to their original positions, at which time the doors the party entered the room by unlocks. The opening of any door resets the hourglass sands. Only a single door can be opened at any one time. To open a door other than the one they entered the room by, the characters must get one of the stones from the statue's hands and place it into the flaming brazier in the center of the room. If they do, the fire seems to consume the stone, but the stone magically appears again in the palm of the statue's hand. The stones activate the doors as follows. Whew. All right, so there's a bit of a puzzle here as to getting these different doors open. Doors different than the one you came in, and here's the list. The golems remain inanimate until the sands of the hourglass run out. They will not use their natural poisonous gas ability. They can only be struck by +3 weapons or better. Wow. So there you have it. The chest appears. Oh, here's about the chest. The chest appears locked. Opening the chest from the front releases a cloud of sleeping gas from the false compartment in the top. Once the false top has been opened, an illusion shows an empty trunk. The trunk actually opens from the back and contains a deck of many things, a scroll of protection from magic, a scroll containing the 2 clerical spells, Dispel Evil and Flame Strike, and 2 portions of healing. All right. So you got some good loot. You got a puzzle here opening different doors, and you've got some really nasty golems. So that could be that could take up a lot of time for the party to figure out exactly how that works. Western stair, 45-degree angle. Okay, and then there's a center stair. There's also at a 45-degree angle. It goes to a rough-hewn tunnel. There's a tunnel. The dwarves could tell you that it's new construction compared to the rest. There's another trapdoor in the ceiling, activated by weight. Okay, then. Oh, that takes you down the chute. Okay, so you're in the tunnel, and then you go down the chute, and you end up back in that other spot that we already covered. Western stair. Then there's the Western stair landing. Catacombs. All right, this is an important spot. So the module gives you in all caps. Read this with care. Much activity can take place here. All right, so we've got, let's see, the arched walkways and the crypts support the ceiling. There are 5 exits. The crypt, 1 door to the tunnel, the barred doorway. Okay, so we got these. There's 3,000 bats in here. Each crypt houses the remains of the person or persons listed on the crypt's stone door with an epitaph. The percent chance of opening a crypt door is equal to twice the total number of strength points applied. Super strength characters add their percentages bonuses directly to the total chance. Each crypt described below, unless otherwise noted. Each crypt contains a 3 by 5 foot rectangular slab of marble, 3 feet high, with a skeleton draped in rags atop it. All right, so you got 3,000 bats that are hanging around here during the daytime hours and the fly out at night. They're not going to attack unless commanded by Strahd or unless provoked. They don't do damage, but they do get in the way of spell casting. So this is just a nuisance. There's so many here that's not something you can really deal with. It's just going to be, right, if you provoke them or Strahd says they're going to make a mess in your hair, bats, and then you're going to have trouble casting spells. There are transpositional teleports between 2 of the crypts, and then between one of the crypts and the wall, and then between another crypt and the wall. These teleports form a protective ring around the obvious entrance to Strahd's coffin. The teleports exchange a living body passing through them for the undead body of a wight from Crypt 14. Since the transfer is practically instantaneous, and since only living and undead matter is teleported, the teleported character's armor, clothing, etc. becomes suddenly occupied by the wight. Ooh, that's sneaky. Teleport puts the wight into the same pose the character it is replacing had. The teleport exchange appears to others as though the character who was walking through the crypt passage suddenly turned into a wight. Ooh, that's really sneaky. The wight turns and attacks the party with the original character's weapons. A wight appearing in a PC's clothing and armor is not damaged by any holy symbols that the PC had, because the symbols are not forcefully presented. Okay, Now, what happens to the teleported character? He finds himself lying in a dark, confined space, basically inside the coffin, wearing ragged, rotting clothing. The coffin lid requires a lift gates throw. That's a kind of a strength-based throw that they have in first edition. A penalty of -5% to open it because of the confined space. If Strahd attacks at this time, he may want to help open the coffin lid and attack the character in it. So if Strahd's there, he could actually help the PC out just so that he can get at the PC. Once out of their crypts, the creatures in K84, what's K84 again? Oh, in the catacombs, okay. In the catacombs will pursue the PCs anywhere except to some of the rooms. Each crypt is listed. Okay, so it's like you have a giant trap. PC walks in, a white is going to walk out, attack the party, dressed up like the character. So it's a good chance the party may think, at least particularly the first time it happens, and if the other PC hasn't figured out a way to get out of the coffin yet and scream for help, that it is the PC. And it's sneaky, and they get to use, if they're you're level 5, maybe you picked up some magic stuff, and now that magic gear is potentially turned against you with the white using it. And then if that was the cleric, God forbid that's your cleric that just got swapped out like that, his holy symbols don't hurt the white because they're not being forcefully presented as the rules say. And then on top of it, the cleric is not there to try to turn it. So could be a bad turn of events. Let's see. Each crypt is listed below. I'm not going to read through the epitaphs, but we got a ghost, got a specter, got some loot. Okay, we got some more crypts. Stabel in the Bach. Kazan, his word was power. The names are cool. I like that. Artemis, builder of the keep, thou standeth amidst the monument to his life. Sasha Evliskova, wife. There's a vampire. There's a bride. Sir Eric Vonderbucks. Vonderbucks, really? Sounds like George Costanza's D&D name. So we got some more crypts. There's some big spiders. We got some more loot. A little vampire lady picture. Dollar sign. We knew him only by his wealth. All right. One trapper. What is a trapper? Not sure what a trapper is, but sounds like something that basically camouflages itself as the floor. I'd have to look that one up. Doesn't ring a bell. Saint Finderway, Saint of Lost Travelers, King Dostron, a couple of empty crypts, Growlmore, Nimble Knobs. Ooh, boy. Oh, but there's some loot in there. +1 sword with 1 wish. Ooh, that's nice. Scroll with Charm Monster, Polymorph Other, and Polymorph Self. Scroll with Fireball, Hold Person, Haste, Lightning Bolt, and Slow. Very nice. And Mirko Standarski, Inventor. Okay. Some Hellhounds inside there. Bucephalus, the Wonder Horse. Okay. The Tomb of Sergei von Zarovich. The coffin opens easily to the touch of any lawful good character. The body is clothed in a shining +2 plate mail. That is nice. Tomb of Strahd. All right. If Strahd is reduced to 0 hit points within the previous 8 game hours, his body is here. 2 of the 3 alcoves on the south wall are teleports. The center alcove is non-magical. The east alcove is the entry point from teleport from Crypt 32. Entering the east alcove does nothing. The west alcove teleports whoever enters it to the west alcove in Crypt 32. Okay. All right. Guardians, anyone with lawful good can pass through the curtain without difficulty. All other alignments are teleported back to the top of the stairs behind them. That's interesting. Tomb of Barov and Ravenovia, which I guess you put them together and you have Barovia. Or maybe not. Something like that. See if anything fortune's happening here. Okay. Optional endings. All right. So assuming we got through all of that, we are at the end of Castle Ravenloft. They don't really make allowances for you going out of the castle and coming back in, right? Everything is working against you doing that as a party. Everything's pushing you out, or pushing you in further and trying to keep you from going out. But given that you could potentially have a wish or something else, if you, God forbid, you use the wish to do something quite so mundane as just getting out of the castle. But, whatever. There's possibilities you get out in it again. But really, the idea is that once you get to the castle, you've doing all your stuff in the village. You're getting your information, but you're going to head to the castle, and then you're going to go in, and it's pretty much a straight haul through it to the end. Um, so here's the optional ending. After Strahd is destroyed forever, you may want to provide an ending for the players to wrap things up. The following scenario is provided as an optional ending. This module, the scenario is set at dawn on the Overlook. Arena must be with the PCs. All right, so it's just a little ending. It's basically the here, look, the adventurers are standing tall, staring out. Dawn is arising. Barovia is seeing a new day. Arena is here, and Sergei, her name is she now has Irina now remembers that she was Sergei's beloved Tatiana. Sergei, and then they walk off into the sunset. Okay, so here we got some appendices. We got our treasures. Let's take a look at our treasures really quick. I'm nearing the end here in the final stretch. Holy symbol of Ravenkind, platinum medallion that was once worn by the high priest of Ravenloft. It's powerful, lawful good symbol. Oh, okay. So that's +2 to your turn undead roll. Ooh, when presented against vampires, it flares with the light of the sun for 1d10 rounds. Remember, the vampires are destroyed by direct exposure to direct sunlight for 10 rounds. So if you hit that 10 mark and they don't get out of it, they're toast. They can't move or attack while the medallion flares. Other creatures are not affected by the medallion. The medallion can only be used once per week. But still, it's pretty nice. So if you get that, I don't know if it's 1 to 10 rounds. I guess you got to roll to see how many rounds it's exposed for. I mean, why would you ever, if you had a choice, you want them to destroy them 10 rounds, 30, so you want it to be on. So I would guess that you actually have to roll to see how much you get out of it. Interesting little mechanic for that, because if you get less than 10, you've stuck it, but you can't destroy it. If you get 10, then it's toast. The Sun Sword is a magical longsword. Its blade is, let me switch pages. There we go. The Sun Sword is a +2 sword against all creatures except undead. And within 30 feet of any undead, the blade suddenly glows brilliant blue. Should have been green, but they didn't. Obviously, had not seen Big Trouble in Little China. The green flame. The blade is +3 versus undead to hit and damage. When used against vampires, the blade flares and sparks when it hits, inflicting 10 additional points of damage per hit. Ages ago, Strahd employed a powerful magician to destroy the sword. The first part of the process required that hilt and blade be separated, then destroyed simultaneously. However, before the hilt and blade were destroyed, the magician's assistant stole the blade and attempted to flee from Barovia. Though his body was later found in the woods, the blade was not with him. When it was separated from the hilt, the blade took on the appearance of a normal longsword. Though the hilt remained in Castle Ravenloft, the blade was never found. Strahd has always lived in fear that the blade may be reunited with the hilt. So happens that one of the PCs has been using the blade with a normal hilt, since without the hilt it cannot be discerned from a normal blade. If the PCs find the hilt, it will magically leap onto the blade, replacing the PC's hilt, becoming the Sun Sword. So this takes a little bit of gymnastics, only if nobody's actually using a sword, which is unlikely in D&D. Almost everybody used a longsword or had a longsword on them or whatever. But, if there's a chance that they're not, then I'm not sure what you do with that. But, there it is. They're supposed to get it. Potentially, or at least have that opportunity to get the Sun Sword back and then help them out against Strahd and other of the vampires in the castle. And now we have the Tome of Strahd. I'm not going to read the text there, but it's let's see, what is it? The curious. So it's basically written in sort of a code that only Strahd really knows, or shorthand. Stains and age have made it illegible. There's a 30%. There's a base 30% chance to read any paragraph in the book, and then you can read them in order. I'm not going to read them, but it's fun. It's just more flavor. And there we get some Barovian villagers, and that is it. No, it's one more page. Here we go. And then we get some gypsies. Oh wait, Barovians are by tradition a happy people through their history and current, though their history and current conditions are not happy. If one manages to win the trust of a Barovian, one has a friend for life and an ally that will never fail. The Barovians know the following. Here we go. The 3 rules of Ravenloft. They attempt to leave the land, they begin to choke. Those who do not turn back perish. That's the mist. The Devil's Strahd is the master of Ravenloft. And that he's placed a curse over the land because of some forgotten sin of their ancestors. Vampires can be destroyed, but no one has ever succeeded. Barovians know all the tricks for destroying vampires outlined in the monster manual. There you go. So if your party doesn't know anything about vampires, if they don't have the cultural connection to vampires, the Barovians can hip them to it. And then we got some gypsies, and then we got Strahd zombies. And there we have it. That is Ravenloft. So, what do I think of it? Well, obviously, I'm just reading through it. It's a fairly, and I think this was true definitely for the Dragonlance. I think a lot of people maybe, one of the things with Dragonlance that maybe people did not love about it was that it was very linear. And I think Strahd shows that same. If we're going to look at their earlier work and seeing it, it is fairly linear. Obviously, it's not linear in Barovia. You have, right, you got a lot of messing around you can do in here, but really the flow of the adventure is you're going to, you start, you're going to hit the village, you're going to go through, you're going to go in, you're going to get, and once you get into here, you're pretty much stuck unless you have sort of, um, extraordinary means of leaving. You're pretty much stuck there until you finish the job. And the way everything is structured is really structured to kind of push you through, push you through, push you through to the end. So while you do have a sort of a hex crawl wilderness area, I wouldn't say this module is really for you to use as an hex crawling space. It really is. It's giving you this bounded area, and it's clever. The fog is a nice method, and it fits with the theme, fits with everything. It's trying to tell you a reason why you're stuck in this little area. You can't just wander out and decide, okay, I'm in Barovia, but now I want to decide to go do something else. Bye. I'm gonna go somewhere else. Like, no, you gotta stay here until you figure it out. And the only way to figure it out is to get to the castle, and then the only way to get, to then do that is to keep going. And everything's kind of pushing you in that direction, right? The carriage you meet on the road, all the information is going to say, hey, you're going to have to, why is this happening? The villagers are all going to tell you, oh, it's the Devil Strahd. Where is Strahd? We can definitely find him in the castle. Everything is pushing you to the castle. And then once you get in the castles, we saw the traps, the way some of those set encounters are set up. It's all there to keep you in the castle. The module does not want you to leave the castle. So if I'm reading this as a GM, even though it hasn't said so specifically, I want to discourage the players from leaving. I want them to discourage from trying to figure. I want them to just keep pushing through, which makes it good for sort of not necessarily a one shot. I'm not sure how long it would take to go through this. If they go really fast, I suppose you could run through it in an evening or in one, a long game day. It's probably going to take you several sessions to run through. But I don't know that you'd have to do some tinkering if you're going to make it more of a campaign setting. I think Curse of Strahd, maybe I'll look at another video. I've only sort of flipped through it. Is more of a extended campaign setting version of Ravenloft. This is very much an adventure. You go through it, you get kind of sucked into a demi-plane essentially. You go through a little bit of wilderness, you get a feel from it, you end up in the village that gives you kind of the stakes and tells you more of the background. And then after the village, there's nowhere else to go but the castle, right? You can't leave, and there's no other, you go back and you look at this map, and yeah, there's stuff, but there's no other points of interest. It's just wherever you are, you get here, coming through, you get here, you go there. So even though we have a spatial map that seems to give 4 cardinal directions where we can go anywhere we want, really it works on a very linear pathway. You're going and you go through and then you get out. So it's pretty linear, but it's not necessarily unusual. A lot of things were made mostly, modules began as things to do in conventions and things like that. So it was really meant for a linear experience. Does it deliver on the promise of being gothic? I mean, certainly on the aspect of it gives you a lot of the flavor as far as in vanilla. It's not trying to change D&D to make it gothic in a real sense. It's not trying to play like you might find now with adding a Lovecraftian madness element or anything like that. But it does try to deliver on all that tropes. Some of it's funny. It doesn't try to play everything serious, which could be good or bad depending on how you like it. If you wanted something to be really super serious and in its own gothicness, then this doesn't necessarily, because it has a lot of funny parts where it mixes in sort of theme park haunted house stuff with real supernatural things. The witches having Eye of Newt, or kind of the cheesy Renfield like henchmen. And there's definitely some other features that are funny, but there are also parts that you can definitely play to be sad and mournful and poignant. And it is something that even when you win, there might be an element of, obviously if you use that optional ending, it's going to give you more of a heroic feel to it, but you could tone that down to give it more of a darker ending. And if you wanted to play more Fall at the House of Usher, where you escape, but you realize everything's kind of crumbled around you, you can play it like that. So different ways to play it. So, does it deliver on being gothic? Yeah, I guess as far as what you're doing in sort of a vanilla D&D sense, it does deliver on gothiness, but it doesn't change the game into what I would say is a real gothic setting. You were definitely still playing D&D with gothic elements. So if that is something that you find interesting, then it's going to work. If you're looking for something to really be more of a melding of gothic sensibilities with D&D to form sort of a hybrid, I'm not sure it gives you that, but that's not really what it says it's doing. I think it lives up to the stuff on the box, right? It lives up to the art. I think if you get this, or I have it on the screen there, you get this, you're definitely getting bats and wolves and gargoyles and mists and vampires and spawn and age old ancient wrongs that need to be righted and that sort of thing. So I think it's good. Like I said, maybe I'll do a companion piece on Curse of Strahd, but that's all I have for now. So that is Ravenloft. So give this a watch between now and Halloween if you can. Maybe if you're gonna run a Ravenloft or a Curse of Strahd game, tis the season. So I hope you enjoyed that. But listen, if you're seeing this, wherever you're seeing this, if you can give it a thumbs up or a like or whatever they give you to show your support for the videos I'm doing, that helps me out a lot. If you're seeing this on YouTube, if you could give the thumbs up and subscribing to stay in touch wherever you are. If you feel like helping out more, I've got the Patreon that's in the show notes and everywhere else to help support that way, or just sending it on to friends if you think it's something they would like, or just passing word on. I would appreciate it. But have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you later.